Territory listeners, you're off down the highway to Geelong and Essendon. It's
ABC Sport.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Marks out to the right, stacks on goal, superb finish.
Turns, whacks it straight through the middle. Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang! 'Cause here it comes, AFL.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
For just the second time in 30 years, the Essendon Football Club are down at Kardinia Park. It is a cool night in the middle of July, getting down to 6 degrees during playing time this evening. It is a hot clash, though, in the context of the season. It is 5th versus 8th as we enter the weekend, so it would be a pseudo-elimination final. Should the final series have started today, these two teams would be pitted against one another. Geelong have lauded it over the Bombers in recent times. Essendon have won just 3 of their last 20 clashes against the reigning premiers. Corbin Middlemass with you at Kardinia Park. There is no late change. Oisin Mullen is the sub for Geelong and Nick Hind is the sub for the Bombers. There's a whole lot baked into it. It is Brian Myers' 100th game for the Cats. And for the Bombers, their inspirational skipper having a career year. Zach Merritt plays his 200th game. Jess Webster's here to call the footy with me. Good evening, Jess.
G'day, Corby. Even though it's 9 degrees at the moment in Geelong, there's no better place to be at the moment. Saturday night, a great game of footy we've got ahead of us and a huge contest to look forward to. You mentioned that the Bombers don't play here very often. They also haven't won here in a very long time, all the way back to 1990 was the last time they won against Geelong at Kardinia Park. And at the moment, even though Geelong are 8th place in the ladder, there's probably no tougher task, I think, in the competition than taking that down the defending premier on their home turf. So much to look forward to tonight. Can't wait for it.
The Cats undefeated in their last 3, so starting to get going. There's a huge carrot for the Bombers tonight, though, given St Kilda's slip up and the Dogs losing on Thursday night. If the Bombers win, they go a game clear into 5th spot. Premiership player with the Collingwood Football Club, Luke Ball, with us again on Grandstand AFL. Hello, Bally.
Corby, great to be here. It's a fascinating last third to the season, isn't it? It's enthralling with results playing out. There's really, and it's been the case for a while, and I was about to say 3. You can throw Freo into the mix now. There's really only 4 teams out of the race now with, 6 games to go?
Yes,
after tonight. Yeah. So, what a great result for the AFL. And as you said, the Bombers continue to prove, I guess, that they belong in that top 8. They get another opportunity to do it tonight against the Cats team, who, if you heard their coach talking after last week's game, they've still got very much an eye on, okay, maybe they don't quite get to the top 4, but they think they can do some damage from outside the top 4. So augurs well for a terrific clash tonight. Zach Merritt, 200th game. Well, in many ways, he certainly led the revival of the Bombers this year, so well done to him. And Brian Myers, an unsung hero, number 1 goal assist player in the competition. So, and he's had a bit of press this week, hasn't he, as well? So looking forward to tonight, Corb.
One man who knows Zach Merritt extremely well is former Essendon captain himself and St Kilda champion Brendan Goddard. Hello, Beach.
Yeah, g'day, guys and girls. Jess, yeah, had a nice ride down with yourself. Corbin, you're a little bit on edge.
Safe trip?
Yep, safe, we just survived. But as Jess alluded to, the Bombers haven't won here in a long time, and I think that was at the front of your mind driving down. So both teams in pretty good form and looking for, hopefully, a shootout. I think it's been kind of well documented. Essendon's offence is up and about, but just their defence. And I think at times Geelong wouldn't be happy with their defence, but scored pretty heavily and freely at times. So really good offensive teams that looking forward to hopefully a shootout and a high-scoring game.
Plenty to ask you throughout the night. We'll pick your brain on what makes Zach Merritt great as the evening progresses. And you also saw Brodie Grundy firsthand today in your primary role with the St Kilda Football Club. He was playing in the VFL, so we'll ask you about that as the evening progresses. Just repeating, no late change. The subs are in. Lauren Borden is on the boundary for us tonight. Good evening, Loz.
Evening, Corby. It is nice to be down here, even though it's one of those nights where you can see your own breath when you're speaking. So it's pretty chilly down here. I think we're heading for a low of 6 degrees, so pretty cold. It was raining in Geelong this afternoon, and you can see the ground is glistening. So it should be a pretty wet weather type game today. I'll be interested to see how many Essendon fans have made the trip, or how many Essendon fans Geelong has let in, because normally we see those interstate sides coming up here. As you mentioned, the subs are in, so it's Oisin Mullen and Nick Hind coming to the bench, taking their seat now and getting ready for the match to start.
Thanks, Loz. Still the grandstand at the city end of the ground, half complete, so some seats in, but reduced capacity here tonight. The seats that are available are all filled. It's a pseudo elimination final, a chance for us to establish some hierarchy in the competition after round 18. The 5th place Bombers, the 8th place Cats on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
Stanley and Brian to contest the first set of bounce, and we're underway. Stanley with a tap down to Blitzarves. He's tackled immediately, just got the hand pass out. It was holding the ball, in fact. So a free kick to Essendon out of the middle. Darcy Parish to take the free kick. Plays on and drives it long inside forward 50. It's a good mark taken by Henry. Had his name written all over it inside defensive 50.
So centre half back for the Cats. Jack Henry pokes the pass out to DeConey. Parish, by the way, with that inside 50, he's got 5 of a possible 6 Brownlow votes in the 2 games that he's played here as the kick heads down the wing. Hand pass ends up with Durham for the Bombers. They win it back. Handball to Parish. Out in front of Redmond. Surge kick inside the forward 50. In the pocket. Langford runs underneath it. Jack Henry takes the intercept mark. Back pocket for the Cats.
He kicks across the face of goal, but Martin got a hand in there to break it up. And now the ball is in dispute in the pocket for the Bombers. It spills out the back. And Stewart is tackled and brought to ground. We've got a stoppage right forward pocket for the Bombers. No score through the first minute of play.
2 intercept marks in their forward 50 for Jack Henry. It's just got to come to ground, those Bomber forwards. Got to get the ball to ground.
Brian going it alone in the ruck. Won by Stanley, though. Straight down to Guelph. He shoots goalward, but he misses everything. Out on the full. It's been those blue-collar guys that have really underpinned what Essendon have done this year, in Guelphy and Durham, and obviously Draper, who's unavailable at the moment for the Bombers through injury, but really able to carry out what Scott's wanted from them in his first year. As Zach Guthrie goes to a dangerous one-on-one, but DeConey wins it, hands down, beats Peter Wright, takes the mark half-back for Geelong.
Archie Perkins starting in the centre bounce, which was good to see. They've gone for some bigger bodies. I think over the years, that's where Geelong have really troubled the smaller Essendon mids.
DeConing long down the line off hands. O'Connor laying a tackle, and we've got a ball up right in front of the interchange gates here at a packed-out Cardinia Park. Big crowd here tonight to see a crucial clash, 5th against 8th. From the stoppage, Dangerfield close to the line. Hand pass to Holmes, knocked away from him out of play. Ball in, still in front of the interchange gates on the broadcast side of the ground.
I reckon Mark O'Connor's got the job.
Just
on
about to say that,
yeah. He started out of the centre bounce. He started forward, Zach Merritt. Now he's come up. He's at this stoppage, which they do a fair bit effectively. But Mark O'Connor's gone right to him.
Boundary throw in, Ruck share it down, comes to Holmes, who picks it up just inside the boundary line in front of the interchange, kicks to half forward, the intercept mark for Ridley. Left knee heavily strapped with the hyperextension in the second half last week against the Crows. Both he and Redmond out there after some concerns. He goes back to McGrath, dangerous kick out towards Laverty, who takes the mark just. Long kick up to the wing. On the eastern side of the ground, no mark, spills down to Langford. He's tackled and held up by Henry. That's Jack and Tom Stewart. We'll have a ball up on the logo of the eastern wing underneath the Hickey stand. No score through the first 3 minutes.
Brian and Stanley and Ruck. Give that one to Stanley again. Oh, dangerous kick from Merritt out of the edge. Didn't make connection. Now to Hobbs. Gives it to Perkins. He kicks across the ground, and the intercept mark is taken by Holmes inside the centre square. Has a player free running forward at half forward. It is Smith. Got it, 2 kicks from goal. Chip short to Duncan. Now pokes the kick into the pocket looking for Hawkins. Tries to keep it alive and taps it back into Zerk Thatcher. Ricochets out of play for a throw-in.
Doesn't need that, big Tommy, on a
Tried
cold
to
night.
invent something there, Tom Hawkins.
Well, we're used to seeing Mitch Duncan hit him on the chest, but that one will just make sure his hamstrings are awake.
Last time these two teams met here, Geelong won by 41. Hawkins kicked 6. He also kicked 8 against them the last time they met, including 4 in the first term. He goes to grab it out of the ruck here, decides late to knock it down in front of Durham, who's tackled by close. Ball comes out, says play on. Merritt keeps it going forward. Durham had a fresh air shot trying to soccer it away. Cats win it back, Colin Jasny. Hand pass out to Smith. He gives it to Zach Guthrie, 70 out, half forward. Kicks for Cameron, top of the goal square. Hands to it, no mark. Falls to Redmond, handball dangerous. Picked off by Myers. Shakes a tackle. Myers kicks the first in game 100. What a start to the night. And the premiership small forward in his milestone game kicks the opener. We've travelled 4.5 minutes. Geelong one straight. Essendon yet to score. Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Well, that goal there just came through forward pressure. It was really a bit of a mistake from Mason Redmond when he got a ground ball. But what's been obvious thus far is Geelong's just control on the game. Essendon had a couple of early inside 50s, and Bawley alluded to the fact that Jack Henry intercept both those balls and took contested or uncontested mark inside their D50, and then it's just been all Geelong. Had ground position, controlled the ball in offence, played a bit of keepings off, and then managed to get a deep inside 50, top of the square. Good contest from the talls, and then their smalls getting to work on ground level, and Brian Myers slipped to tackle and slot it from the top of the square.
Back in the middle, Brian taps it down. Merritt hacks it out of there. Stewart got the fist. All alive inside the centre square. Smith tries to toe poke it forward. O'Connor will run onto it for the Cats. It can't gather, and now it comes up Essendon's way. Hobbs had a fumble to Perkins, to Parrish, back to Hobbs. Under pressure at half-back. Kicks around the corner to the outer wing. Again, another intercept grab to Jack Henry on the outer side and switches it into the centre of the ground. Stanley marks, gives it to Bowes. Shooting pass towards half-forwards, a great one. It hits Cameron on the chest. 55 out from goal at right half-forward. Wheels in on the angle and kicks it towards the Rowan direction. Hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Spills down to Blitzarves, so gives it to Smith. Left foot snap to the top of the goal square. No mark is taken. Zerk Thatcher out the back for the Bombers. He hacks it out of the danger zone, but it might come back. Duncan taps it intelligently onto Smith, who gets it, and Duncan gets it back from Smith. Now to Henry, who slips the tackle, kicks it back towards full forward. Dangerfield this time. Perkins with the fist. It spills to Holmes. And now off to Stengel. 40 out from goal. Eyes the sticks and drills it. And the Cats have a couple. 2 straight 12 to the Bombers, yet to score. Through 6 minutes of the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Oh, they're on, aren't they, Beads? The Cats. Every Bombers possession under pressure at the moment, and they're just a little bit jittery. You mentioned Matt Redmond just playing a bit of a hot potato before that led to the Myers goal. Again, Geelong's forward pressure, just being able to trap the ball in their front half. Isaac Smith, refreshed after a week off, looks back to his running best. He started really well, and in the end, it was just that pressure, that forward pressure. Good hands from Holmes, and then a little bit of brilliance from Stengel, who up until last week hasn't been in great form, but like a lot of teams, they used a bit of a soft kill against North Melbourne to get a few back into form. He kicked 5 last week. He gets on the board early here.
Now the game tonight is Adelaide and GWS. Starts in about 10 minutes from now. Finn Callaghan are laid out for the Giants. Cadman takes his place in the team. Cats going forward again out of the middle. Stanley down to Atkins. Hand pass didn't quite get to his intended target, and as a result leads to a ball up as O'Connor's locked up in the middle.
Just got to get their hands on the footy here, the Bombers, and try and have a few composed possessions, maintain a bit of footy.
The Cats by 12 from the restart. Merritt soccers it forward straight to O'Connor. Hurried kick to centre half forward. Spills out in front of Redmond. Inadvertently soccers it into the path of Rowan. Tries to jump on top of it. Redmond soccers it a second time. The Cameron hits up, wins it, rides some contact. Got it out, Blitzarves, hand pass back to Rowan. Kicks inside the forward pocket. Myers is all alone. Has to try and tap it on. Can't quite. Eventually Hawkins comes in, but he's under pressure. Kicks back to the top of the goal square. Snelling's onto it. He's tackled, dispossessed. Ball comes out to Laverty. Hand pass goes back to Zerk Thatcher for the Bombers.
Who gives it to Martin. His kick couldn't hit a target. In comes Duncan, left forward pocket for the Cats. A high up and under towards the top of the square. Zerk Thatcher with the fist. It stays in play. Down to Laverty, his kick is intercepted. The mark is taken by Holmes. Forward 50, gives it to Cameron, who's run down. Hand pass is intercepted by Hobbs, who gives it to Merritt. His hack kick towards the wing is going to roll out of play. Plenty of pressure at the moment early here at Cardinia Park, and the call's insufficient intent, or there's a throw in.
He got away with one, I think.
Just to Lauren Borden on the boundary. It's all happening down there for the Cats, Loz.
Well, Gary Rowan's just come off. It's his right ankle that he's had a bit of trouble off. Cameron's coming off now. He's got a split head, and Mason Redmond's been pulled off by the doctor as well after that tough clash where he had a bit of a head knock.
Sure. So 3 big players all hitting the bench. Kept us updated with those lots and the boundary throwing. Atkins has his head over the footy for the Cats. Now Hobbs goes in there to try and wrestle it free for the Bombers, and a pack forms. Ball up just in front of the interchange. Running repairs for both teams. Cats with the first 2 goals. They lead it by 12 after 9 minutes. From the restart, Essendon win it through Merritt. Squeeze the kick out of traffic. Wiedemann and Stewart both run past it. Stringer slips over. Ball picked up by Atkins for the Cats. Hand pass to Bruin. Spun around back to Atkins. Sliding in. Falls over. Goes without it. Wiedemann. Hand pass to Merritt. His hand pass missed the target. Goes out of bounds. Gee, it looks slippery out there for both teams. 12 points to zip. Geelong lead it after 10.
was a bit of rain earlier around in Geelong. It's moved up towards the city. Slippery underfoot at the moment.
See who's got the stops on Beach.
No such thing anymore, I'm told, from the boys.
It's smouldering, isn't it, these days?
Ball spun back into play. Hobbs dribbles it along the ground at half forward. Nice pick up from Menzies. Hand pass in ball to Caldwell. He's chased down by Atkins. Ball spills loose inside the centre square. Picked up by Blitzarves, who's tackled by Kelly. Ball locked up inside the centre square. Geelong by 12. Essendon yet to score. 10 minutes played in the opening term.
When it's like this, you fall back and play wet weather footy even though it's not raining?
It's got to spend some time over the footy. Yeah, there's been a few players just lifting their heads and fumbling as a result. It's got to spend an extra half a second over the footy.
Free kick for Merritt. Not too many people knew what that was for. Goes wide to Kelly, tried to chip it short, and there's another free kick coming back for the Bombers, and Kelly will get it again.
Yeah, it was against Mark O'Connor for Merritt, who's trying to be physical with him, trying to put some physical presence and physical time into him, and Merritt made sure the umpire saw it.
Kelly from a high half forward, kicks to the hot spot right, competes in the air, no marks, hits the deck. Atkins for the Cats, hand pass to Stewart, handball out of the defensive 50 to Myers, and he links up with Smith against the boundary line eastern side. Kicks to Dangerfield, hits him straight on the chest in the centre square.
Had to be perfect, and it was. Not a lot up forward, so Dangerfield's forced to hold it up. Now he sends it long inside the arc. Coming across with the fist was Heppel, but it goes straight down to Smith on the left. Bounces across the face, through for a minus score. Geelong 2-1-13. Essendon yet to score. 11.5 played in the first term.
That's vintage Geelong footy, isn't it, Beach? All their forwards pressing high up the ground, win the footy, beautiful kick into Dangerfield, and then get them on the turnover back towards goal.
McGrath's kick out's a turnover. Atkins takes the intercept mark. Short kick to Myers at centre half forward. Geelong on here from the outset. Myers low trajectory drop punt, and Heppel stands in the hole. Takes the intercept mark, top of the goal square, goes short to Durham at half-back. Durham goes along the boundary line, wants Peter Wright, flies in the air, no mark. Blitzarves does well, keeps his feet, wins it. Hand pass away to Bruin, centre half forward, or half forward rather, 55 out, kicks to the top of the goal square, and Zerk Thatcher takes the intercept mark for Essendon, top of the defensive goal square. Geelong 2-1-13, Essendon yet to score through 12 minutes.
He was stiff not to get a free kick then, Peter Wright, I thought, here on the wing against Blitzarves.
Zerk Thatcher chips short to Ridley, still inside defensive 50. Will wind up and kick it long down the line. Wiedemann, the target. Stewart used the body well and takes the intercept grab on the wing outer side. Send it back to where it came from. A long bomb inside 50. Henry got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Myers, who gives it to Close, bouncing towards goal, and it's home. A third for the Cats. 3-1-19 to the Bombers, yet to score. 13 played. Opening term, Granson AFL, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts.
Well, Geelong are doing such a great job that when they do have an inside 50 and Essendon get their hands on it, we've highlighted a number of times about their pressure inside 50, and then if they do get an uncontested mark, it's slow, it's wide, and they're forced to kick long down the line. But Geelong are playing the game in their forward half. It's making it very, very hard for Essendon to find that uncontested chain and look somewhat dangerous moving the ball at all. They're doing such a good job defensively. So, and every time they do go inside 50, they look really dangerous, don't they? So get the ball into really good spots. If they can't find that lead up, or they can't find a key forward in Hawkins or Cameron, their smalls are really getting to work and impacting the game at ground level.
It's another goal assist for the number one goal assist man in the competition, Brian Myers.
First 19 points of the game, all Geelong's way. Restart back in the middle, and we'll do it all again as Perkins is locked up. Of course, the Scott brothers going at it tonight. Chris holds a head-to-head record of 9-4 against his twin Brad. Second time they've done it in these colours, though. From the restart, Parrish, hand pass to Durham, hand pass back into dispute, turnover. Atkins picks it up, sends the Cats inside 50 again. Hawkins clever, paddles it to Myers, feeding another one into Cameron in the pocket, snaps left peg, misses. Near side, he usually eats those up in the left forward pocket. And the famous number 5, Geelong 3-2-20, Essendon yet to score. 14 minutes in, danger signs for the Dons.
Laverty in the back pocket for the Bombers. Hand passes to McGrath. Hand passes back to Laverty. This time kicks across the ground. It's not a great one. Holmes will get there for the Cats. Hand pass to Dangerfield. 50 metres out. And short kick hits Close on the chest. 40 out, directly in front.
The Bombers aren't helping themselves, are they, Bully? There has been great pressure, but at times this is where I think you just need either a message from the coach's box maybe, or the players take it upon themselves to say the pressure's really good from Geelong, so we're just going to have to take our medicine, because now they're starting to turn the ball over by foot and compounding the issue.
Brad Close directly in front. He'll kick it from about 40 metres out. Kicked one a couple of moments ago. Make it 2 for Brad Close and 4 to the Cats. 4-2-26, leading Essendon, who are yet to score. 15 minutes played first term, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, I agree, Beach. It's a combination, isn't it? Certainly the pressure was there early, and now it just needs some cool heads, just to have some composure. And Laverde there, it was just a nothing kick, wasn't it? It wasn't really, it was sort of in between two Essendon players. It wasn't really to advantage, and Max Holmes swooped on it, got it to Dangerfield, who lowered his eyes and hit Brad Close, who's off to a flyer, really. These Geelong small forwards, I mean, a night like this is really made for them, and they're off to a flyer. So, danger signs here for the Bombers. What is that? It's inside 50, 10 inside 50s to 3, but it's felt even more dominant than that, really. Geelong just playing a forward half game.
Yeah, those 3 were really early, 2 in the quarter.
26 points to zip. Restart back in the middle. Ruck share it down. Bryan and Stanley. Dangerfield had it, lost it. Spills to Perkins. He kicks to half forward, and Stewart marks. Running back with the flight. Held out Guelphy. Goes short to Atkins for Geelong. He flares it all the way out. Eastern boundary line to Bowes. Runs back onto his right peg. Sends Geelong down to half forward. Again in their front half. Rowan flies to the footy. No mark. Back on the ground. Spills through to Guelphy. Hand pass away to Laverde. He can just bang it forward for the Bombers. There's no one there. Jake Henry takes the intercept mark for the Cats.
Chips it forward to Bruin, just defensive side of halfway. Takes off from the bullseye. Kicks the Cats into attack again, and Dangerfield takes the uncontested mark, 45 out from goal.
And that's the other thing, when Essendon do go forward, when they're able to get it past halfway, Geelong is set up so well behind the ball. It's often coming from one of Essendon's high half forwards, getting high up, trying to impact the play, arguably trying to play his role for the team, but Geelong choosing to drop off that play and have a spare behind the ball, which they've impacted a number of times, and then it's slingshot back the other way off turnover, and it was actually Perkins who was on Dangerfield.
Patrick Dangerfield shoots towards goal, and it's danger signs for the Bombers. 5 goals to the Cats in the first quarter, 5-2-32 to Essendon, yet to score. 17.5 played in the opening term. Before we hear from Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, let's get downstairs to Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Essendon have also been without one of their best defenders in Mason Redmond. He's down in the rooms doing a concussion test, so you'd think he'd be out until about the end of this first quarter, while Gary Rowan got his ankle restrapped, and obviously Jeremy Cameron out there as well.
Yeah, right, Beach. I mean, the message has got to go out to the leaders, but it's across the ground. Even when they have won the clearance, the forwards have just got to find a way to compete and get that ball to at least halve that contest. It's Jack Henry 4 intercept marks, Tom Stewart 3. Just got to find a way to get the ball to ground at the very worst and play and trap the ball in their front half, because it's just slingshotting rather way too easily from the Geelong back half at the moment.
That Redmond incident, of course, the collision with Jeremy Cameron. So Cameron back out there, but no Redmond just yet. Merritt first possession at the restart. Hand pass to Perkins, kicks to centre half forward. Wiedemann got a hand on it, but it spills through to Zach Guthrie. Took a while to get rid of it. Caught by Menzies. Ball comes out in the end. Somehow got boot to ball. Spills to Blitzarps. Blitzarps slays the tackle in the end on Snelling and got him high. Snelling to take it 55 metres out right half forward. Bombers desperately need to get on the board here. Cats with the first 5. Kicks to the hot spot. Bryan flies for it. No mark. Knocked back into dispute. Martin had it, lost it. In the end, Stanley extracts it, hands it straight to Merritt. Shoots goalward for the Bombers. He misses. Out to the left. Essendon's first score. Get the Bronx cheer from the Geelong locals. 5-2-1 behind. 19 minutes into the game. Just repeating full time at Docklands. Carlton by 50 points over Port Adelaide. They make it 4 in a row and end the Powers' 13-game win streak.
Guthrie with the kick in for the Cats, straight down the corridor and hits Dangerfield. Took a nice contested grab and then flares the kick out wide to Holmes, who marks on the logo broadcast wing. Kicks up towards half forward and finds Cameron, who can play on. Spears it inside the arc. It lands at the feet of Blitzarps, who collects. Hand passes to Rowan. Too hot for him. Picked up by Laverde of the Bombers. Gives it to Heppel. And now up to Ridley. Back to Heppel. Put him under pressure. He's stripped to the footy. And it's holding the ball. Free kick to the Cats in the right forward pocket.
Just delegating the responsibility, aren't they? Yeah, just had to get rid of it. The communication, I don't think Heppel actually expected it. So whether the communication was to kick it, and Ridley just thought he was too much under pressure, or was under too much pressure to actually get rid of it. So they just need to bite the bullet and then get the ball out, read the scenario.
Mark Blitzarms with the free kick. He's 15 metres out from goal. On the left. 6 in a row to Geelong at Kardinia Park. 6-2-38. Essendon 1 behind. 20 minutes played opening term grandstand AFL.
Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Well, Mason Redmond's just come back up. He's putting his mouth guard in now and he's standing on the bench and waving. So he's keen to get back on before this next centre bounce.
They're getting back out there. Had all the experience they can back there. Just an unusual. And Jordan Ridley's the one coming to the bench. Not used to seeing him do that, but an indication again of the pressure. It was just this ball's too hot for me. Here, let's make it your problem. And in fairness to Dyson Heppel, it was a hot potato and wasn't much he could do in that situation. Just, again, credit to Geelong. They're on tonight. We've seen it from about the first 2 minutes in. It's been an absolute demolition job, really.
Essendon conceded 6 of the last 8 goals against Adelaide last week, and coaches love to say you sort of start the next week how you finish the last. Well, it's started with 6 straight goals for Geelong, so that's 12 of the last 14. For the Bombers against them as Dangerfield in the middle scoops it up. Hand pass to Atkins, kicks down to half forward. Holmes gets to the front of Durham, sockers it inside 50, follows up his own footy. Hand pass further inside the forward arc, knocked back by Zerk Thatcher, picked up by DeConing. Was he taken high? Says no. In fact, it's Blitzarves and a ball up centre half forward for the Cats. Geelong lead it by 37, 21 in.
Hawkins with the tap. Hobbs sockers it off the deck. Only as far as Atkins, who collects. He's tackled and dispossessed by Caldwell. Spills to Bryan, who sockers it forward. Langford picks it up inside the centre square. Hand passes to Perkins from centre half back. A high ball to half forward. Stringer in a one-on-one. Collar Jasny with a big fist. Spills to Cameron in the middle of the ground. To Atkins. Now to Zach Guthrie. Kicks out wide to Holmes, who marks in space on the wing. Broadcast side. Chips it short to Stengel. 2 kicks from goal. Pretty crowded forward 50. But he has found Hawkins on the lead. 45 out from goal, 5 in from the boundary.
Too easy. Just working harder, spreading harder. So winning the ball back. The Cats across the middle of the ground, as we've spoken about. And then when they do, they're just spreading and using this. I mean, we know it's not a wide ground, but they're just working harder than this Bombers opponent. And even then, we've seen Tom Hawkins kick goals from here all the time, but it's just too much room there from Zerk Thatcher. It was a slow play and uncontested mark.
It'll take his best, Tom Hawkins. Just across the face. And it still stays in. They all dive on top of it. I think they're going to have a chat on the goal line. So it looks like it's going to be a behind.
Yeah, it was definitely left side of the post, was it? Yeah, but I think there's so much
away. Review complete. Looking at this angle, we can see the ball has crossed the behind line. Decision on scoreboard.
So a behind to Tom Hawkins. Geelong 6-3-39 and the Bombers 1 behind.
Yeah, there's just so much going wrong for the Bombers. It's a bit for Brad Scott and the coaches. Where do we really start? It's structurally they're allowing a spare for Geelong behind the ball, which in my opinion you just can't let happen. That's what when they're so good at it, you just can't get past that wall of players, particularly if it's one of Henry or Stewart. I think Stewart's their preference. Wolfie looks like he's trying to do a job on him, but they're just too strong across there. So there's so many things going wrong.
Redmond back out there, takes the kick out, goes long up to the defensive side of the wing, and there's a free for a hold. It's going Geelong's way. Jack Henry rather is going to take it. There's no Zach Henry. There's a Zach Guthrie. There's an Ollie Henry and a Jack Henry. And he goes short to Bruin, and Bruin chips it inside 50. And there's Cameron standing against the boundary line. Marks easily on his chest, 45 from home.
And they're shallow pockets, so it's probably not as difficult as it would be at other stadiums, but there's just so much going on. It'd be hard just in that. Well, I guess where you can start is around the footy, right? So, and in contests, particularly one-on-one contests in the air, which they're...
First game back from the concussion. Jeremy Cameron against the boundary line. Shoots goalward, misses near side. Couple of behinds for Cameron on his return. Already it's a 39-point game. 6-4 to 1 behind. Geelong all over the Bombers, 24 minutes in.
Quick to bring it in. McGrath long down the outer line. Henry in front of the pack, couldn't complete the mark. Close to the line, and it does go out. So a throw in on the outer wing.
6-4. They've kicked 6 goals, 3 from turnovers, the Cats. So they need to get an indication. Started with their heat and their pressure, but the Bombers just haven't been able to deal with it. And like we've said, they've contributed to some of it as well.
Geelong by 39. Ball back into play. Bruin off the stoppage is a free kick. There's a whistle on play. It is going Essendon's way. Free kick to Zach Merritt on the outer side.
See if they can hit some targets, find some teammates here, the Bombers.
A horror start, especially given this man's milestone night, 200th game for Zach Merritt. He turns it over there, close, intercepts, hand pass to Blitzarps, handball to Bowes, through the middle of Kardinia Park, gives a 1-2 with Myers. Bowes now kicks inside 50, Stengels all alone. Redmond spoils, back into the path, the volley, Henry, spin move, kicks it for the top of the goal square. Blowout in full effect, and it's taken just 26 minutes. 7 goals to zip, and the Cats party has started early. 7-4-46 Geelong. Essendon 1 behind. Luke Ball, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
No mercy on the twin brother here, Peach. It's just been an absolute domination, as we said, from about 2 minutes in. And it's been turnover, it's been pressure, it's been work rate. They've just covered the ground better. It's spreading in numbers, the Cats. It's just been an absolute annihilation.
Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Gary Rowan jogged off, has gone straight down into the room. So I was having trouble with his right ankle, which was already strapped before he started. Got it restrapped, and now he's gone down into the rooms.
Said they needed to find some. They've only taken 8 marks, the Bombers, to the Cats 33. So they just haven't been able to possess the ball at all. Everything's been under pressure.
From the restart, Geelong win it out of the middle through Stanley. Down to Duncan, who kicks towards half forward, and close is marked. 60 from home. Gives it off to Duncan, who kept running from right half forward, pokes the kick into the pocket. Not a great one, Zerk Thatcher read it best and takes the intercept grab.
Essendon haven't had a goalless opening quarter all season. And staring down the barrel of that here as Zerk Thatcher goes short to Redmond. Missed basically the first 15 minutes with that concussion test. He goes short and backwards to Zerk Thatcher there on the last line of defence. Across the goal face to Laverty. Off and running, touches the yellow Sharon on the plane, on the turf. Loops a hand pass. Out to Heppel. Heppel on the 45. Back inboard, wanted Hobbs. Waited for it. Zach Guthrie broke it up. Myers hands it back to Guthrie. He strolls into goal and he misses. Oh, it could be even worse. 7-5 to 1 behind. Geelong by 46. Their game high lead grows. 28 minutes into the game. Cats home fixture. They're all in white though with the blue hoops and white shorts, and Essendon all in black with the red sash and the black shorts.
Redmond with the kick and duties for Essendon. Short to Ridley, who chips it to Heppel, who's marked at right half back. Loops the hand pass over the top to McGrath, who gives it to Ridley. Close up against the boundary line, he was held, in fact. Ridley, so the ball will come back. Defensive side of halfway. Geelong by 46, late stages opening term.
Ridley just holds the footy. Isn't quite sure exactly what to do with it. Just spears it short in the end, and Hobbs takes the mark. It's been so good over the last couple of months. The second-year bomber, Hobbs, not his best effort. Hangs it in the air, trying to get it to Parrish. Got to him touched on the way through. His kick and turnover. Stanley for the Cats. Hand pass to Holmes, gives it to Close. Knocks it out in front of Blitzarves. Sweeping hand pass to Duncan. Inboard to Myers. Runs back onto his right peg. Kicks down to half forward. Close. Trying to mark in front of Redmond. Redmond breaks it up. Forces the neutral ball. It's out of play. Throw in on the eastern wing. Geelong by 46.
If I'm Peter Wright or one of the forwards for Essendon, I'm getting out to my mids and I'm going, boys, when we're in slow play, just give us a chance, get us forward. Not only for them to actually try and have an impact, but them just to lock the ball inside 50 and actually get the game on their terms and keep the ball inside 50.
Brian with the tap down to Durham. He gets boot to ball straight to Holmes. Jams it on the boot towards half forward. Oh, running back with the flight of the ball was Stengel. Couldn't complete the mark. It spills out of play for a throw in. 40 around from the Cats' goal. 7 straight in this opening term. They lead the Bombers by 46.
They just can't get any ground position. When it has gone inside 50, it's come straight back out. They've allowed a spare behind the ball and then they can't touch them when Geelong actually win the ball, even though it's deep inside Essendon's forward 50.
14 minutes opening quarter in Adelaide. Crows lead the Giants by a goal. We'll keep you updated there from the boundary throw-in. There's a free kick. It's going Hawkins' way. A ruck infringement is being held, and so Hawkins is going to get it. The man on the mark stands a step outside the 50. Hawkins is having a good think about this. Kicking to the Barwon River end or the southern end of the ground. We'll have to kick it about 55 metres. It's probably the worst part for the Bombers. There's 7 goals to zip down. Cameron and Hawkins haven't kicked one between them. Hawkins decides to pass it. Low trajectory drop punt. Couldn't quite get it to Cameron. Myers has it under pressure. Lost it in the tackle, holding the ball. Free kick for the Bombers. It'll come back Essendon's way, and it'll be taken by Caldwell in the defensive arc. He'll have it right back pocket. Geelong by 46. They've kicked the only 7 goals.
Caldwell kicks across the face of goal to Zerk Thatcher, who's in space in the left back pocket. Chips it further afield to McGrath. Just had the carry. McGrath takes off. Hand pass to Heppel. Defensive side of halfway. Unsure what to do. So he hand passes defensively to Ridley. Fakes to go inboard, then kicks long down the line to a big pack. Geelong have good representation out. The back was Guelphy. It spills to Zach Guthrie of the Cats. He kicks it long down the line to a pack. Hobbs collects at ground level, gives it to Parrish, and now off to Caldwell in the centre square. Kicks laterally to Redmond, who then kicks it to Durham. It had opened up for the Bombers at half forward, but the siren beats them ahead into quarter time, goalless. It is Geelong 7-5-47, leading Essendon 1 behind. A dominant first quarter from the Cats. Their goal kickers, Brad Close has 2, and singles to Tyson Stengel, Brian Myers, Patrick Dangerfield, Ollie Henry and Mark Blitzarves.
The Bombers previously only had 2 goalless quarters all season, one in round 12 against North. It was the second quarter on that occasion. They still won the match. And the other, of course, famously that final term against Collingwood on Anzac Day when the Pies came home with a wet sail. That is a huge reality check for Brad Scott and his Bombers, conceding the first 7 goals of the match. Geelong 7-5-47, Essendon 1 behind in the quarter, which ran 31 minutes. Now, the other game in Adelaide, it's all level, 2-1-13 apiece, 17 minutes into proceedings. So the Crows and the Giants, there was a late change there. Finn Callaghan out. Aaron Cadman takes his place in the starting 22. Earlier today, the Blues by 50 points over the Power, the Suns by 26 over St Kilda, and the Pies a game clear now on top. A 46-point win over Fremantle. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard in just a moment as the Essendon coaching staff come charging across the ground here at Kardinia Park. I'm sure they'll have a bit to say to their boys. A 46-point lead for the Cats at quarter time. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
The World Game is here.
Great touch on the edge of the box. Right foot strike. It scores. Unbelievable.
The FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
Near the corner post on the left side. Dribbles to the edge of the area. Strike. Oh, it's in. What a wonderful goal.
Live and commercial-free coverage on radio and on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the World Cup button.
Her intercept. Dribbles into the area. Curl strike. The Aussie captain scores.
The FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 starts Thursday.
Protecting our planet.
Breaking down barriers.
Supporting new migrants and refugees.
Lending a helping hand.
These are some of the ways
we became Australians of the Year.
The Australian of the Year awards are nominated by you.
So come on, reflect, respect,
and celebrate.
Australians who are making a real difference.
Nominate them now at australianoftheyear.org.au.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Cats win it back. Colin Jasny. Hand pass out to Smith. He gives it to Zach Guthrie. 70 out, half forward. Kicks for Cameron. Top of the goal square. Hands to it. No mark. Falls to Redmond. Handball dangerous. Picked off by Myers. Shakes a tackle. Myers kicks the first. In game 100. What a start to the night. And the Premiership small forward in his milestone game kicks the opener.
Bruin, just defensive side of halfway, takes off from the bullseye, kicks the Cats into attack again, and Dangerfield takes the uncontested mark, 45 out from goal. Patrick Dangerfield shoots towards goal, and it's danger signs for the Bombers.
Or a start, especially given this man's milestone night, 200th game for Zach Merritt. He turns it over there, close, intercepts, hand pass to Bledsoe, handball to Bowes, through the middle of Kardinia Park, gives a 1-2 with Myers. Bowes now kicks inside 50, Stengels all alone. Redmond spoils, back into the path of Ollie Henry, spin move, kicks it for the top of the goal square. Blowout in full effect.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
7 goals to zip, 12 scoring shots to 1. It's all Geelong, a 46-point lead over the Bombers. At quarter time, Corbin Middlematch, Jess Webster calling the footy, Lauren Borden on the boundary, and our grandstand AFL experts with their take on that opening term, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Well, I'll go first because I think it's a matter of where do they start, because across the ground it's been really poor from Essendon. After last week I didn't see much of the game, but what underpinned their performance, particularly at the start, was their pressure and intensity around the ball, the ability to make a contest, win contests.
And then spread and work rate.
But tonight I think it's a little bit structurally that, Zachy Merritt starting as a half forward, which he's done a lot of, so it's no different to what he's done other week. Comes up as an extra mid pretty much, so... And then the next Essendon player comes up that is Geelong is dropping off him, so allowing him to go up to the stoppage. And then, clearances are 9 each, so Essendon have their fair share of opportunities to go forward, particularly from centre square bounce. They won the last couple with Perkins. But they're allowing Geelong to have a spare behind the ball, and when you do that, and when Geelong do win it back, they then can't touch Geelong. Geelong move the ball too freely from one end to the other. So it's their defensive spread, it's their ability to defend your opponent one-on-one and how quick they can find them when the ball leaves your area. So the midfielders in particular, when you do win a stoppage and it goes forward, you've got to quickly find your man number off because Geelong are moving the ball too freely. And then I think in the back half, credit has to go to Geelong. They've got the game on their terms early on, playing the game in their forward half. Their pressure in particular in their forward 50 has been outstanding. But Essendon then don't have to compound that with skill errors and making poor decisions, in particular unforced errors. So it's okay for times to put up the white flag and say, the players in particular, say, boys, the pressure and Geelong are on tonight. It's really hot, so let's just for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, let's just concede to kicking it down the line, get a contest from our forwards, ruckman, get the ball out of bounds or get another stoppage, just get the ball away from Geelong's goals, because the pressure mounting when the ball's inside 50. You highlight a couple of times the old hot potato from a number of players. It's almost just delegating the responsibility when the pressure comes, but someone's just got to take responsibility, I think, leadership-wise, and they'll get that message across now, what they want in being the Essendon coaches. But it is hard to send messages, and harder than it ever was to get messages out to the players. So the onus and the responsibility on players is to actually read the situation in games and take control and show leadership to change the course of where it was heading, because we knew early on that 7 goals 5, you wouldn't predict this at the start of it, but it's 7 goals 4 came from turnovers, and that's direct turnover, being either they kick it straight back to the opposition or you're under pressure and you kick it back to them. So they have to clean up that area, and I think that's just conceding to the fact they need to kick it long and get a contest and get a re-stoppage so they can restructure and actually win that time in forward half battle.
7 goals to zip, Geelong by 46 points as we start the second term. Stanley leaps up, wins the head out. Parrish got a hand pass out in front of Perkins, just sockers it to high half forward. Hitting up Stewart, clever, paddles it to his teammate's advantage, and in the end Martin inadvertently sockers it out of play. So a throw in on the eastern wing. Last time they met Bawley, Geelong kicked the first 6 goals, led by 38. They've kicked the first 7 tonight, led by 46.
Yeah, bit of a trend. The Bombers, I think it was the key forwards that did the damage last time, there wasn't it? It hasn't been the case tonight. It's been the small forwards at ground level.
The Bombers actually won the game from that point on. They only lost by 28, having conceded the first 6. So,
well, they've got a lot of work to do.
Unfortunately, it feels like the game's slipped past them already.
Right. Well, I'll just be saying, let's see if we can kick the first 2 goals, get 2 in a row. And Beej, you're right, man. You've got to adjust. They've been a high kick mark team. I think I mentioned with 2 minutes to go in that quarter, they've only taken 8 marks. So, got to adjust your game to the opposition and the ground.
And the ball in on the outer side. Dangerfield on his hands and knees. Tries to feed it to Atkins. Now picked up by Perkins of the Bombers. Hand pass over his head. Goes straight to Duncan of Geelong. He whacks it down the line to Hawkins in a one-on-one with Zerk Thatcher. They both go to ground. Hawkins pulls Zerk Thatcher off the ball. No free kick, but the Bombers come up with it. Martin in the centre square. Shifts it looking for Caldwell, but reading it better with Zach Guthrie. Takes the mark at centre half back.
That's the one. They had one-on-ones ahead of the ball then, Beej.
We've got 18 premiership players in. Both those guys, a pair of them, as get Guthrie to close. Knocks it out in front of Holmes. Hand pass forward turnover. Laverty wins it for Essendon. Hand pass to Martin. Kick along the boundary line. Superb onto the chest of Caldwell. Between two Geelong defenders. Caldwell wants to move it by hand. Bombers trying to get something going. Hand pass to McGrath. Handball away to Langford. Hooks a kick inside forward 50. Stringer trying to trap it. Can't. Still a live footy. Half forward for the Bombers. Cats win it back. Jack Henry to Kolajasny to Stewart. Runs back through the fire. Hand pass to Bruin. Kicks along the boundary line. Western side of the ground in front of the benches. Comes to Laverty. Quick hands to Redmond and now to Snelling for the Bombers.
He chips it to McGrath, who's marked between wing and half forward. Wheels in board, kicks it to a big pack inside forward 50. They all fly out the back of De Koning for Geelong. Gives it to Henry. He's brought to ground in a tackle. Stoppage, 40 out from goal. Geelong with the first 7 of the game. 46-point leaders at quarter time. 5th taking on 8th from the stoppage. Bruin, he's brought to ground by Parrish and will do it all again, this time 45 out from goal.
It's a win at the moment, isn't it? Back-to-back forward stoppages. See if these smalls can get on the move and create some energy here.
Brian wins the hit out and forward 50 stoppage down to Durham. Hand pass away to Wiedemann. Turns straight into the tackle. Jack Henry got him. Ball spits out. Says play on. Durham goes back. Wins a hard footy again. Hand pass out towards Stringer off his backside. Feeds it away by hand. Shooting goalward. High up and under from Martin to the goal line. And it's De Koning who just kills it. Through for a rush behind. So the Bombers just 2 scores. Both behinds. Geelong lead it by 45 points. They've kicked 7-5 themselves 3 minutes into the second.
Stewart with the kick in, short to Kolajasny, who chips it short to Holmes, left half back for the Cats.
Good night, Max Holmes. 11 first quarter possessions.
Kicks it long down the line. Pack forms. Laverty with the fist, but straight down to Ollie Henry. He stayed down. He jams it on the boot towards half forward, and now they chase after it. Leading in the race is Myers, who goes to ground. His hand pass missed Hawkins, who has time to gather at left half forward, then hit a target inside the arc, and Ollie Henry. He marks 45 out from goal, slide angle to the left.
Well, they were just 2 1-on-1s, weren't they? The Geelong players won. I mean, Brian Myers just ran away from Mason Redmond there. He might be a little bit sore still, Mason, but then Tom Hawkins just using his smarts there to swing that ball back into dangerous territory.
Ollie Henry from 50 to make it 8 straight. He's missed to the left. The Cats 7-6, 48. The Bombers 2 behinds, 5 minutes played in this second term.
Ridley with the kick-out duties. No one comes towards him, so he goes on a trot, has a bounce, and chips the kick out wide. Kelly marks against the boundary line, left half back. Geelong by 46, 5 gone second term. Kelly's just going to have to go along with a contest kick on the wing, and Jake Henry marks in front. There's a free kick for Nick Bryan at his arms chops at the umpire. And now Bryan's told to play on. He was the last one to hear it. Jams it on the boot inside the centre square. Duncan takes the intercept mark. And now Duncan just kicks a flower bag across the centre square to the advantage of Holmes. Straight up the corridor. Hits Ollie Henry. Hands it off to Myers. From centre half forward, he's off target. Misses out to the left. 7-7 to 2 behinds. It's a 47-point lead for Geelong. New game high, 5.5 gone second term.
Kelly with the kick in short to Ridley, who chips it to Parrish. He kicks it out wide to half back. Diving mark taken by Durham. Continues it down the line. Fist came from Stewart. It spills to Stringer of Essendon. Close to the boundary line. Hand passes is intercepted by Jack Henry, who kicks it back down the line to a 1-on-1. Durham almost with the one-hander. Couldn't complete the mark. Picked up by Laverty. Hand pass to Parrish. And now off to Kelly. Defensive side of the wing. And chips it to Zach Merritt, the milestone man.
So Merritt against the boundary line eastern side. Heads down to half forward. Right, arriving late. In the end, spoils. Comes down towards Bruin. He's clipped in the tackle from Caldwell. Umpire says play on. Got a hand pass to Jack Henry. He turns it over. And McGrath takes the intercept mark. So at least a bit of forward half stuff here for the Bombers. And McGrath traps it in the front half. He kicks inside the forward 50. Bryan the target. Ball hits the deck. Hobbs is there front and centre. Jams it on the boot. Umpire's blown his whistle. Has advantage applied? I think it will be. It's a goal for Stringer. He soccers it through. Ump says advantage. And at last the Bombers have a goal. Stringer with the toe poke on the goal line. It's taken 7 minutes into the second term, but Essendon have won at last. Geelong 7-7. The Bombers 1-2. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, I think their last 3 or 4 inside 50s have done a good job actually bringing the ball to ground. So it's one of the rare occasions where Geelong haven't intercept, marked it, and then gone back at them. So they've created the contest, got the ball to ground. Dangerous positions too, where it brings in their crummers.
Have you seen any adjustments you're looking for?
Not structurally, so to speak, but they're definitely doing a better job at maintaining the ball and finding the spare bit of that kick catch that Bally alluded to at the end of the first quarter.
They just dialed up the pressure a bit. So that was Geelong not being able to waltz the ball out of their back half without any pressure. And it forced the error, it forced the kick. McGrath was in the right position, turned the ball over, and they got a good deep inside 50, as BJ said.
From the restart, Dangerfield kicks Geelong up towards half forward. Ollie Henry leading the race, collects and passes backwards. Durham got a hand in there. And then loops the hand pass over the top looking for Hobbs. When it ricochets off him to Cameron from half forward. Hooks the kick around the corner. A tumbling ball inside the arc. It's collected by Stengel. Hand passes to Duncan. He had a fumble. Now Hawkins laying a tackle. Locks the ball up. 30 from home. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
You might have heard a few cheers a moment ago. Gary Rowan's back up from the rooms after that right ankle injury and back into the forward line.
Still a bit worrying how much space these Geelong forwards have got, BJ, at the moment.
Forward 50 stoppage for the Cats. Hawkins grabs it out of the ruck. Hand pass to Smith, who kicks goalward and misses. Well, he does that so often, just moved Bryan aside. Didn't lead to a goal on this occasion. And Geelong to start this term have kicked 3 behinds. Their last 4 scores have all been misses. 7-8 to 1-2. Cats still wide on the scoreboard. They lead it by 7 goals. 8 gone second term.
Redmond with the kick in duties for Essendon. Runs into the pocket, then kicks it long down the broadcast wing. Right came from behind, knocked away from him, spills to Holmes of the Cats. Hand passes inboard to Blitzards to Close, who then gives it to O'Connor. Back to Holmes, inside the centre square. A high, up and under kick. Dangerfield underneath it. Has he got the mark? No, couldn't complete it. It spills to Smith, who gives it back to Dangerfield. He had a fumble. Wasn't collected high. Umpire said play on. Heppel to Kelly to Bryan to Durham, all by hand at left half back. Durham gives it off to Martin, who kicks long down the line. Stewart, was he shoved in the back? No, the umpire said play on. Wiedemann in the contest. He overran it. It spills to Stanley, who gives it to Stewart. He chips it forward to Smith, who's marked as centre half forward. Here come the Cats again. Isaac Smith goes towards Hawkins in the square. And he'll line up from point blank range.
Well, just some individual brilliance again, really, wasn't it, from Tom Stewart? I mean, Sam Wiedemann, he had every chance to take that mark.
That was the error,
dropped
wasn't
the mark, wasn't it? But then Stewart did the rest from there.
Hawkins from the top of the square. He's on the board. Brings up Geelong's 8th. 8-8-56 to the Essendon Bombers 1-2-8. 10 minutes played second term. Grandson AFL, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, and what we loved with Tom Stewart is just his ability then to come back inside and just get that little short kind of 25-metre kick at the back of the kind of centre half forward for Geelong, which then opens up the whole game. Isaac Smith, if he needed, I think he had Holmes running beside him just to use that at number. He would have waltzed in and had a shot from about 40 metres, but played on, kicked long to the goal square, which Tom Hawkins had isolation on a young Brandon Zerk-Thatcher, which doesn't matter who it is really, no matter how young or old. But when Tom Hawkins has isolation and a kick to advantage, not many are going to beat him. So a good bit of play, but just a small skill error and unforced error from Sam Wiedemann cost them.
Restart back in the middle. Blitzards extracts it. Sets Dangerfield free. Kicks inside 50. Cameron can't pick up the half volley. Centre half forward for Geelong, and Ridley does well. Wins it for Essendon. Hand pass to Wright. Short ugly kick down the wing. Reaches Nick Martin. Collects on the half volley. Hand pass to Hobbs. Gives it back to Martin. And Martin gives it back to Hobbs, and Hobbs kicks it out on the full. It's been that kind of night for the Bombers. And a free kick for Geelong. Just stabbing at it short. Duncan trying to lace it through to Isaac Smith. 2 Bombers there, and Nick Martin knocks it out of play. So a boundary throw in here. High half forward for Geelong. Jeremy Cameron back from concussion in the wars. He had a collision earlier with Mason Redmond, where Redmond probably came off worse for wear, and now Cameron's been busted open. Did you see that on the replay, Jess?
Just copped an elbow to the face in a contest.
Yeah, just from Ridley, I think. So it's
inadvertent. All okay.
Inadvertently, yep.
So he's busted open, bleeding from the nose as he's going to have to come off the ground. Meanwhile, it's quarter time in Adelaide, the game between the Crows and the Giants. Adelaide by 5 points over GWS. Seesaw in opening term, 4-3 Adelaide, GWS 3-4.
She ran over and apologised, Jordan Ridley. Accidental, but he's in the wars, Jezza Cameron.
Throwing it right half forward for the Cats. Dangerfield chasing after it, pursued by Perkins. Ball goes out of play. Centre wing out of side. Geelong, that Hawkins goal brings up a new game high lead of 48 points. They're led by 46 at quarter time after kicking the first 7 goals of the game. 1 each so far in this second term. Umpire spins the ball back into play. Blitzarves with the tap. Down to Durham of Essendon, who has some space. His hand pass to Hobbs. He gets it back from Hobbs. Durham. He hand passes to Stringer, who's found some space just inside the arc. Gets boot to ball towards half forward. Bowes is underneath it. Couldn't complete the mark, but he gets a free kick. For a chop of the arms, as I think it was Caldwell who kicked the goal, but it doesn't count. So Jack Bowes, free kick, top of the defensive goal square.
Of course, the Bombers were interested in Bowes, as I'm sure many clubs were, with the advantages that had. You've got a top 10 calibre player, plus pick 7 in last year's national draft. He ends up going to the Cats, and they took on his $1.5 million contract in the process. A short kick to Smith, and Smith goes long down the line and still out of play, with Heppel flying through to try and knock it out of bounds. Got enough of it. Saturday night footy at Kardinia Park. It was billed as one of the games of the round to see how the Bombers would go. 5th at the end of the weekend, a chance to go a game clear in 5th spot. They conceded the first 7 goals in the opening term. Playing catch-up big time for the boundary throw-in. Right move to side by Blitzarves. Kicks inside 50. Out the back of the pack. Hawkins there. There's a free for a hold. It's going Essendon's way. Laverty's getting it. Dangerfield had a tug on the jumper. It's probably a goal-saving free kick for the Bombers. Laverty to get it at half-back.
Will thump it down the line, rights the target. Was he pushed out of the contest? Umpire said no. Spills to Blitzarves for the Cats. He gives it to Bruin. His hand pass to Colin Jasny. He gives it off to Myers from inside the centre square. Chips it forward looking for O'Connor. Wright got a hand in there. Now the Bombers through Hobbs. Can reload off half-back. Unsure where to go. Sweeping hand pass to Heppel at right half-back. Jams it on the left boot around the corner. Perkins comes out to meet it and takes an important grab on the wing.
Archie Perkins, one of their 5 top 13 picks that they've had in the last 3 drafts. This guy a top 10er himself as he kicks down to half forward. Coming from the back, Wiedemann forced to spoil straight into the lap of Blitzarves. Cats win at half back. Hand pass away to Holmes. Sells a dummy, gets around Guelphy. Kicks to half forward for Geelong. Sprawling Mark Laverty left his man and got there just before the Sherrin hit the deck. Tries to switch. Goes all the way back to Zirk Thatcher inside the defensive 50. Geelong by 48.
Chips it to Kelly at half-back. Shoots his pass to Martin. Between half-back and the wing. Out of side. Geelong by 48 points. Now called to move it along. Martin, long down the line. Fist came from De Koning. Out the back is Duncan. He's set upon immediately. Brought to ground. Stoppage on the wing.
The SMS number 0437 774 774. Would love to hear from you what you're up to tonight. We're taking in Saturday night footy, and of course Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball with us as well if you've got a query for them. 0437 774 774. Cats win it at the coalface, and in the end Tanner Bruin, who's met front on by Redmond, the ball bounces off his boot and over the boundary line inadvertently on the full. So free kick for Geelong. They maintain possession. Bruin to Smith. Kicks inside the centre square. Martin breaks it up. Then he's crunched. Lost it. Myers gave it to O'Connor. He gives it back. Hand pass from Heppel. Trying to get it to Hobbs. He falls over. Atkins wins it. Goes back by hand to Duncan. Short kick to Stewart. Has it for Geelong in the middle of Kardinia Park. Halfway through the second term, Cats by 8 goals.
He chips to Blitzarves. Still inside the centre square. A couple of kicks from goal. He hand passes back to Stewart. from centre half forward. The kick inside the arc to Redmond, who couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Parrish, who tries to give it back to Redmond. He has a fumble picked up by Ridley, who gives it to Hobbs. Hacks his kick into the centre of the ground and it comes off. Weidman takes the mark, but absolutely nothing to kick to. He had no one ahead of the ball. They all stream forward now. And he directs his pass looking for Perkins, but it wasn't a good one as Bowes comes in and spoils it. Picked up by Martin, though, of the Bombers, who gives it back to Perkins. Now to Weidman, and his kick inside forward 50 is a turnover. And it is De Koning who takes the grab. Was it Zach Guthrie?
De Koning,
thank you.
Right. All over it, Jess. Don't doubt yourself. First time.
I did doubt myself.
Absolutely nailed it. Look, wide kick comes to Jack Henry, takes the mark. 17 gone, second term. 8-8 to 1-2.
Just watching Peter Wright, BJ. Not getting much out of him at the moment, the Bombers. Just the one possession.
Henry long down the wing. Kelly flying for it, no mark. Spills through to Merritt. Hand pass to Wright. Handball away to Laverty. Late pressure from Rowan. Took out Laverty's legs. Kick goes to half forward. Langford in a one-on-one. Can't win it. Ball slips out of bounds. And a throw in half forward for the Dons. Laverty saw too after that effort from Gary Rowan. And of course, Rowan's been on the wrong end of a very serious injury with the player skidding in trying to lay a smother. And this is Laverty, who looks really sore.
So
the body weight from Gary Rowan took out the planted right leg of Jaden Laverty. Or it was the kicking leg, the right leg as he went to land. Yeah. And it was the full body weight of Gary Rowan, which has come across the lower leg of Laverty, right in front of you, Lauren Borden, on the boundary. Loz.
I'm watching him now. He can't put any weight on the right leg. He's grimacing in pain. Both the doctors around him. He just got a pat on the head from McGrath. So he's in a lot of pain. It's not looking good for him at the moment.
Not good news at all.
Leg.
Remember that was
that high ankle. What's the high ankle?
Syndesmosis.
Is that the syndesmosis, the high ankle?
So there was the Gary Rowan one, wasn't it, that forced the change in the rule?
Yeah,
at the SCG.
Lindsay Thomas. That was his feet, though. Rowan was diving for a smother. He does everything at such speed, Rowan, that sometimes he can cause some collateral damage, and hopefully he's okay.
Stoppage at the top of the 50 for the Bombers. It spills to Zach Guthrie. His kick a high up and under. Dangerfield couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Perkins of Essendon. His kick is smothered. Hobbs has a go. He's dragged off the footy. Free kick. Is the advantage paid? No, it's going to come back. No, it is advantage paid. I'm not sure what happened in all of that. Meanwhile, top of the arc, Bruin for Geelong. Evades traffic nicely. Gives it to Colin Jasny. His kick smothered. Picked up by Zach Guthrie at right half back. Spun in the 360, got the hand pass out to Colin Jasny. He tries to soccer it off the ground. It goes out of bounds off the side of the boot. So free kick to Essendon, out of sight between wing and half forward. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
BJ, I think you might be right. It's his right ankle, so they've pulled off the boot, the physios, and are working on it now.
Of course, Gary Rowan's had his own ankle injury tonight, but he's okay to return. Fingers crossed for Laverty as Menzies sends it inside 50 for the Bombers. Comes through to Jack Henry, though. Hand pass to Dangerfield. Handball to Hawkins. Short kick to Myers. The crazy footy slips out of his hands. Hobbs picks it up. Myers tackles him, and we'll have a... Oh, no. Hobbs is going to be pinged holding the ball. Gee, the ball just squirted out of the hands of Myers. Hobbs jumped on top of it. Myers tackled him, and Myers wins it back.
Certainly no prior opportunity. Mustn't have thought there was a genuine attempt. Be a bit stiff there, Ben Hobbs.
Short kick to Bruin. Bruin goes long. Boundary line eastern side finds Bowes, who takes the mark for Geelong. They still lead it by 48, approaching time on second term.
Bowes chips him forward to O'Connor. He'll send it long towards half forward. Hawkins has got it. Great contested grab. He's marked 45 out from goal, 10 in from the boundary. That matchup is starting to prove a bit of a problem, you'd think, for Essendon.
Yeah, we know it's a big task for Zerk Thatcher, but when Tom Hawkins is within that kind of kick of the ball in line with the footy, you roughly know where it's going. So Essendon defenders, I think, just have to do a better job at providing support for Zerk Thatcher there to come third man in, get aerial support on him, because you leave it to a one-on-one with Hawkins, so there's not many that can beat him.
Hawkins from right half forward, crosses the arc, lets it fly towards goal. It's just missed for a minor. But it's a new game high lead, 49 points to Geelong. 8-9, 57 to Essendon, 1-8, 20 played second term.
It's a great point, but it's absolutely what you won't see at the other end. in terms of Peter Wright getting a one-on-one without a third man across support for Geelong defence.
Bombers mucking around with it at half-back and mess around, find out. And Redmond trying to clear the defensive 50, kicks it out on the full. Cats keep it in their front half, win it back. 49-point lead for Geelong. They kicked the first 7 goals of the game. Bombers goalless in the opening term. They've kicked just 1 in this quarter. Here's Duncan to dump it back inside 50. Competed in the air, blitz arms, no mark. Spills to Perkins, gets it out of there for the Bombers. Well, Duncan gets another go. Wright lucky not to make contact on the way through. Guelphy wins it. Look away, hand pass to no one. And Bruin, first one back. Geelong number 4. Hand pass away to Guthrie. Again heads inside 50. Dangerfield the target. Can't trap it. Ridley wanted the safety of the boundary line. Dangerfield slides in, gets the footy. Handball out of play. Oh, and the umpire says he threw it out. Free kick for the Bombers. Ridley's going to get it at half-back. Meanwhile, in Adelaide, it's the Crows who lead GWS by 10 points. 5 minutes gone, second term there. So Crows on top of the Giants by 10.
Ridley kicks backwards to McGrath on the last line of defence. Comes back along this broadcast side. A long searching kick looking for Bryant. Marks. Right half back, continues it down the line. It's not a great kick, didn't have enough elevation on it to get to Guelphy. Now it's off hands. Guelphy gets it back. There's a free kick for a hold and all of that, going Essendon's way. And it'll be Zach Merritt with the free kick. Chips in board to Martin. It's marked adjacent to the centre square. Thought about switching. And elects to take off. Send it to half forward. Wright's the target in the contest, knocked away from him, out of play. Ball in at right half forward for Essendon. They trail Geelong by 49.
Earlier today, Carlton by 50 over Port Adelaide, so ends the Powers' 13-game win streak. Unfortunately, Harry Mackay, a serious knee injury. Fears of a possible ACL, so fingers crossed that's not the case for a key forward for the Blues on what was an otherwise really good day for the Baggers. From the boundary throw-in, Cats eventually through Atkins. Hurried kick down the wing. Ollie Henry can't mark it. Spills out to Kelly of the Bombers. Hand pass to Heppel. Handball in the centre square. Attacking it front on Caldwell. Tackled, taken to ground. Up says I'll have it. And a ball up. Outer edge of the centre square.
Jeez, they've been tackling's been terrific. The Cats right from the start of the game tonight. 26 tackles each, but it just felt like Geelong's tackles have stuck a lot more.
Stanley just clears it from the stoppage to the path of Rowan. Tremendous vision. Back in the corridor, finds Max Holmes. Looks inside 50, wants Cameron, kicks it over his head. Live footy forward pocket for the Cats. Redmond first one there for the Bombers. Gets it out of the defensive arc. Kicks for Menzies. Has to spoil in the end. Turns out okay. Boundary throwing 70 out from the Cats goal. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Jaden Laverty's had his right ankle really, really tightly strapped and re-strapped. It was already strapped as well. He's now running a little bit along the boundary. Doesn't look great, but he looks like he wants to go back on.
Thanks, Loz. Good news for Bombers fans if Laverty can come back in the action. Meanwhile, from the stoppage, kick from the Bombers down the line. Zach Guthrie intercepts. Gives it off to Holmes, who kicks Geelong back in attack. Hawkins in a one-on-one, got hands to it, going to complete the mark, but coming zooming past is Close, who gives it to Stengel and runs into an open goal. He's got a couple. The scoring fest continues for the home side. 9-9-63, leading the Bombers 1-8, 25 played. Second term on Grandson AFL. Your experts are Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, well, it's the Smalls again, but there's some hero support like we spoke about before with Kelly trying to help out Kirkpatrick in the contest against Hawkins, and then the Smalls, once it hit the ground, it was actually close that was further up the ground, who did a great job of getting back inside 50 to the fall of the ball, and he scooped it up with one hand. It was a great pick-up at top speed. One of the things that Essendon did let the ball back into the corridor instead of, I think it was Kelly, just not able to spoil that and either get it out of bounds or wide, which makes it a lot less dangerous. And then it was Stengel, I think it was off Kelly, who impacted the contest, just ducked out the back. Easy little Joe the Goose handball and goal from the goal square.
New game high, 55 points Geelong's way. Bryan wins the hit out back in the middle for the Bombers. Knocked out in front of Perkins. Bryan follows up, went to soccer it forward, and his legs taken out by Bruin. Humps says play on, loose footy on the outer wing. Duncan coughs it up to Geelong. Menzies, hand pass into open space. Right hits the deck. Ball keeps going forward. Menzies soccers it into the pocket. Goes out of bounds. Says spin it in. Forward pocket for the Dons.
The noise of affirmation.
Well, that one worked against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just trying to apply that rule.
You thought it was all right?
Yeah, it was off the ground.
Oh.
It's not a soccer ball.
Boundary throw in. Stanley palms it down to Atkins, who's been excellent. Comes away from the stoppage. Floats a kick out towards halfback. Bouncing footy inside the centre square. Sat perfectly for Izzy Smith. Kicks across Kardinia Park. Holmes is out there on the wing. Collects. Sweeping. Polly Farmer hand pass to Myers. Cats are on the counter-attack. Myers 70 out. Kicks a flower back inside 50, and McGrath can pick it off for the Bombers.
Nice kick out wide to Langford, who chips it to Perkins. Defensive side of the wing. Geelong by 55. Into time on of the second term. Perkins to half forward. Bryan at the back of the pack. It spills inside forward 50. And now Wright receives from Caldwell and snaps towards goal for the Bombers' second. Great transition from Essendon. And they get one back. Geelong 9-9-63. Essendon 2-2-14. 27 played in this second term on Grandson AFL.
That was a brilliant handball. Was it Caldwell? Yeah, who received the crumb, and just having to look at the replay, was able to fire it forward to Peter Wright, who'd finally got himself into a bit of space against the flow of the game there a little bit, the Bombers. But I mean, they credit to them. They've stuck out at this quarter. They obviously have been better. They've been able to restrict Geelong scoring. Well, I think it's 2-4 to 2-2, yeah, or 2-1. So if they could just pinch one more before half time here, that's something at least to take into the sheds at half time. Yeah, good contest from Bryan.
What do you thought of his night?
It was Caldwell, yeah, who squeezed the handball out. So hopefully that can get Peter Wright going a little bit.
Restart back in the middle. Atkins first disposal. Hand pass to Stanley. Straight on the chest of Hawkins. Well, that is brutal from the restart. Straight out for the Cats. And out the front door of the centre square and onto the chest of their hulking key forward in Tom Hawkins.
Just what they couldn't afford, really. Yeah, you're right. It's way too easy. Out the front of the centre square. And that's something that really you can control, Beach, isn't it, in terms of how you set up and compete with really a 4-on-4 in a centre circle. So that'll really disappoint Brad and the coaching staff.
Tom Hawkins kicked 8 last time they met. He's got 1 so far tonight from true centre half forward. 40 out. Kick fades. Misses out to the right. He shakes his head, and all of a sudden the Cats have more behinds than goals. 9-10 to 2-2. Approaching the half-hour mark. Second term and approaching half-time.
McGrath, a couple of bounces from the kick in. Chips it to Perkins. Kicks it further afield. Off hands. Menzies can't keep it alive. Got a throw in just forward of halfway. Bombers into attack. They trail the Cats by 50 points on a cold night here in Geelong. Kardinia Park. Packed crowd here to witness what is a crucial clash between these two sides. And at the moment, Geelong well on top.
I mentioned the behinds. They were 6 goals 2 and then 7 goals 4. So from that point on, they've kicked 3-6 or 4-8.
I'm no good with math, Corp, so I'll trust you on that one.
Boundary throwing. 50-point game. Approaching half-time. Clean bowls a couple. Heppel kicks to centre half forward. Shoot a quick hand pass from Langford out the back. Menzies will be able to run onto it. No one in front of him. Jams it on the boot and it bounces through. John Menzies gets one back for the Bombers. They're going to win the quarter. They've kicked 3 goals to 2 in the term. And the Cats lead it by 44 points. Bombers playing way uphill. Half-hour mark. Second quarter grandstand AFL. Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Yeah, well, it's a small win, isn't it? I'm sure that Brad spoke about that just to win the quarter, to come into half-time, to at least take some positives out of it. But Geelong actually sent Jeremy Cameron behind the ball there. The quick kick from the stoppage actually turned out okay because he didn't quite have enough on it to actually get to Jeremy Cameron. There was a good contest from Wright, contest at ground level just to cause the turnover and loose handball. And then it was Wiedemann actually had a bit more time than he thought, but got a little bit on the boot and it just fell in the path of Menzies finished from the top of the square.
Just in time, with a second left on the game clock before that John Menzies goal. So Cats first 7 goals of the game. They led by 46 at quarter time. They led by 44 at the half. 3 goals to 2 in the quarter, Essendon's way. The goal kickers, 2 for Stengel, 2 for Close, and then singles for Hawkins, Myers, Dangerfield, Henry and Blitzarves. That's Ollie Henry. Meanwhile for Essendon, 1 each for Wright, Stringer and Menzies. A 44-point lead for Geelong at half-time. Meanwhile, the game in Adelaide between the Crows and the Giants. Now, the Crows pulling away, so an 18-point lead at the moment, 15 minutes into the second term. Adelaide 6-5, GWS 3-5. The Giants actually led late in the opening quarter, but it's the Crows at home by 18 points halfway through the second. I asked for some contributions off the SMS, and we have some really good contributions. 0437 774 774. What are Essendon's number 6 and ABC's commentary team on the footy have in common? They both called well. Thanks for making
Very good
night out in Perth delivering Uber Eats more bearable from Simon. Thanks, Simon. P.S. Brendan Goddard was robbed of Mark of the Year because ones in grand finals don't count. Unlucky. Great player.
What about the other couple?
just one you're robbed of, you think?
Yeah, there's a couple there.
Hi, ABC's
they were in season.
AFL team listening on the ABC Listen button, the AFL button on the ABC Listen app, from Grant in Sydney. Nice to have you with us. From Marcus in South Melbourne, feeling better about my Dockers now that some more fancy teams are losing by more than we did. Been some wide margins, must be said, Saturday of round 18. A high team. ABC, great call. Any danger of the Bombers turning up? Listening while driving to Esperance in WA. That's from Josh. Thanks, Josh. Josh. From Ree at Geelong, watching the game. 10 points for the players, 0 for the admin and the Geelong Council. No trains and no parking. From an accessibility perspective, it's a little third world experience from Ree, so not too happy about that. And this is one right in my wheelhouse, Beach, from Rob in Greensborough. When you spend all week whinging and whining about travelling to Geelong, you should probably actually show up to demonstrate the location doesn't matter. Pathetic Bombers from Rob.
And Rob,
who's
been complaining
Did they do
about
a bit of
coming
whinging?
here?
Did they this week?
Nothing out of Essendon has come.
Absolutely.
I think there's a bit of external stuff saying that it's a shame that this game might get 70 at MCG, but the fixture was put in, 4 or 5 weeks ago, so everyone knew we were heading down.
So Caroline Wilson did a Caro's Arrow on Channel 9 on Monday night. She said, look, the game should be moved to the MCG. The whole idea was it was meant to be this grand opening of the completed stadium and a big Melbourne team in Geelong. That's all it was. And yet, so everybody all week had this say about whether the game should be in Geelong or at the MCG. Nothing out of the Bombers. When Brad Scott spoke about it, he said, we're happy to play the Cats wherever they want to play the game. It's their home game. We're happy to come down. And unfortunately, this is what happens. There's the debate around it. And so it's sort of been perceived as if the Bombers have been whinging about it when they haven't said anything all week. They are well behind in the game, though.
I think some people from other teams interpret that if... I'm sure there's been some chatter on Twitter and social media, some Essendon supporters about them potentially missing out on a seat, which is kind of understandable, right? That they want to come see their team play and they can't because, for whatever reason, the stadium's not big enough even if the stand is finished. But I think some other people interpret the supporters being the club, so that the chatter must be coming from the club internally about whinging about coming down here, which hasn't been the case at all from our point of view, has it, Corbett?
No, absolutely
and you're
not.
strong on it being an Essendon supporter.
I wasn't too happy to see the club copped a few. They cop a lot of whack. Some they deserve, some not so.
This one.
44 points the margin at half time. Before we get into the scones, so quick little analysis.
Yeah, they'll be gone.
Well, it was a better quarter, wasn't it, from the Bombers, and the numbers looked better and it just felt a bit better. They were able to dial their own pressure up a little bit, Beej, and just also absorb a little bit more of Geelong's pressure and just maintain the footy a bit more. And to do that, you need to work a bit harder. So you need the space for your teammates a bit more. And it meant that they were able to create a few chances by locking the ball in their front half rather than, it was 20 inside 50s to 5 in the first quarter. So that's reflected in the scoreboard. That quarter, 11 to 15, still Geelong's way. And look, potentially Geelong left a few out there. We know that. Corb, as you mentioned, what was it, 2 goals 7 to 3 goals 1. So Geelong probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit with their kicking, but it wasn't as easy in terms of them winning the ball back and transitioning it, to a score as it was in that first quarter. So, some encouraging signs there for the Bombers, but they've still got a hell of a lot of work to do.
Beach, anything bad?
Oh, well, they're just too far back, but I think just little wins at this point when you go down by, was it 44 points or something at quarter time. So Bally summed it up pretty well. They got a better contest. They gave themselves a better chance to keep the ball in their forward line. They applied buried pressure. Their forwards actually made a contest, didn't get outmarked. And what I saw, they didn't actually allow Geelong to actually have a spare behind the ball, which had been seriously impacting the play, not only intercept marking, but when Geelong did win it either in the air or on the ground in their deep 50, their transitional ball, their offence when they did win the ball back, Essendon couldn't transition, actually get a hand or get a fingernail on it before it was deep inside Geelong's forward 50. So there's a number of things, but they improved across the board, which again, little wins at this stage, but I think they'll have the same kind of focus going into this quarter, just about winning the quarter itself, just to give themselves maybe half a chance going into the last quarter. But I think at this point, when you go down by 6 or 7 goals in the first quarter, the game's pretty much over. That's all it takes against really good opposition.
We'll reset at half-time, as I'm sure the Bombers will. A 44-point lead for Geelong at the main break. Quickly in Adelaide, time on second term, Crows by 17 over the Giants. After the latest from the ABC newsroom, we'll tell you what happened in the other games today. 3 completed matches, round 18 of the AFL season. And Brendan Goddard, in his other role, had a practice game today with Sandy, of course, the VFL team for St Kilda, in which one Brodie Grundy played in. So I'm keen to ask Beach how Brodie went in that match as well. All that still to come. Second half action around the corner. Cats by 44. Let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. The ABC projects that LNP candidate Cameron Caldwell has won the Fadden by-election. The coalition has easily retained the Gold Coast in the federal by-election, which was triggered by the resignation of former frontbencher Stuart Robert. Mr Caldwell, a Gold Coast councillor, beat a field of 13 candidates to win the seat. Gold Coast MP and senior coalition figure Karen Andrews was always confident that Mr Caldwell would be successful. Since the resignation of Stuart Robert in May, Labor has campaigned on his role in the failed robo-debt scheme. Ms Andrews says Mr Caldwell was well recognised in the area and Mr Roberts' track record has not been a factor.
There was no real mention of Stuart at all. There was a very positive response to Cameron Caldwell. So my take from the polling booths that I was at and the feedback that I've heard is that it's probably very neutral. Cameron Caldwell's ID is very high. He's very well known in the area, and I think that people, quite frankly, with the greatest respect to Stuart Robert, have already moved on.
Australia's ambassador to the United States, Kevin Rudd, says he's confident that plans to bolster Australia's defences in the Indo-Pacific are moving a step closer to reality. A US Senate committee has approved draft legislation allowing the transfer of sensitive military technology to Australia. If it passes both houses of Congress, it would help accelerate the delivery of Australia's nuclear-powered AUKUS submarine fleet. Kevin Rudd says it's essential for Australia's shared future with the US and UK.
What's our mission statement? What's our mission objective? It's that we three great democracies develop a seamless defence, science and technology sector between us all.
South Australian police have arrested a man who surrendered after a standoff with armed officers lasting several hours in Adelaide's northeast this afternoon. Police responded to reports of a shooting at the house in Campbelltown earlier, where 2 women were injured. They're being treated in hospital, but police have declined to describe their injuries. Assistant Commissioner Graham Goodwin says police will search the Campbelltown house for firearms and expect the 51-year-old suspect to be charged tonight.
I won't be discussing the condition of the 2 women that are injured. Charges will be pending the injuries sustained by those people, but quite clearly they're serious. So this investigation is still only in its very early stages. There is still a lot more detail to come.
A regional New South Wales football club has taken to the field for the first time since 5 of its members were killed in the Hunter Valley bus crash. Gavin Coote reports.
The Singleton Roosters AFL club has returned to the football field for the first time since 5 of its members died in the wedding bus crash at Greta last month. 5 others were killed in the crash. The New South Wales Premier Chris Minns attended today's games and announced $1.7 million for the club's expansion. Singleton Roosters President Dylan Hickson says it will help the community heal.
We are a family here, and
we lost parts of our family, and that's really hard for myself and for all of us as a club.
The expansion will be jointly funded with the AFL and Singleton Council.
A heatwave in southern Europe has seen dozens of cities placed on alert. The BBC's Guy Hedgecoe reports from Madrid.
We're expecting temperatures here to rise up to the mid-30s. That is actually a bit cooler than what we've been seeing over the last few days. Down in the south of the country, there were temperatures up to 44 degrees. Now, the heat wave we have been seeing in Spain is expected to tail off this weekend, but temperatures are expected to rise again early next week. So people here are very much bracing themselves for another increase in temperatures. And much of the east of the country here is still on orange alert, and that includes parts of the Balearic Islands, which are expected to see pretty high temperatures today, up to the high 30s.
Meantime, heavy rain has killed at least 7 people in South Korea. 2 others are missing after the torrential rain caused landslides and floods. More than 1,500 people have had to evacuate their homes, while thousands of properties are without power at the moment. And just recapping our top story, the ABC projects that LNP candidate Cameron Caldwell has won the Fadden by-election. The coalition has easily retained the Gold Coast in the federal by-election, which was triggered by the resignation of former frontbencher Stuart Robert. Mr Caldwell, a Gold Coast councillor, beat a field of 13 candidates to claim the seat. This is ABC News.
With the ABC Listen app, you can take the footy with you wherever you go. Off to walk the dog?
Take the footy!
Going camping?
Take the footy!
Picnic in the park?
Take the footy!
ABC Sport's expert coverage of the AFL
Incredible grab!
and the NRL. Every goal, try, mark and tackle, live and commercial free.
He bounces it through!
So whatever you're up to,
Take the footy!
take the footy with you on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
It spills to Stanley, who gives it to Stewart. He chips it forward to Smith, who's marked at centre-half forward. Here come the Cats again. Isaac Smith goes towards Hawkins in the square. And he'll line up from point-blank range. Hawkins from the top of the square. He's on the board. Holmes kicks Geelong back in attack. Hawkins in a one-on-one, got hands to it, going to complete the mark, but coming zooming past is Close, who gives it to Stengel and runs into an open goal.
Quick hand pass from Langford out the back. Menzies will be able to run onto it. No one in front of him. Jams it on the boot and it bounces through. John Menzies gets one back for the Bombers.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from that second term Essendon, 3-2. So they win the quarter, the Bombers, but well behind in the game after Geelong dominated the opening quarter. They kicked 7-0. They led by as many as 46 points. At quarter time, the margin actually got out to 55 at one stage in that second term. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster calling the footy. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Our Grandstand AFL experts, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, of course, former teammates. Now current teammates on Grandstand AFL. We are on ABC Radio and Sport Digital. We're also streaming through the ABC Listen app for the first time in season 2023. So that's where you can find us. Just look out for the AFL button. Also on the ABC Listen app, it's really a game of your choice. So if you don't want the game in which you're currently listening to and you're on the ABC Listen app, just search AFL in the magnifying glass bottom right-hand corner. And you'll see AFL and AFL Extra. The AFL Extra button will be carrying the game between Adelaide and GWS. We can keep you updated with that, though. 17 points is the Crows' lead, 28 minutes into the second term. So the Crows 6-5-41. They lead the Giants, who are 3-6-24. So that's a 17-point break for Adelaide after they led by less than a kick at quarter time. The results earlier today, round 18 of the AFL season. The Pies, big winners, 46 points over Fremantle. They also got over 60,000 there as kids go free today. So that is actually a record home and away crowd for the Dockers. Previously, their highest ever crowd was 58,000 for a derby at Perth Stadium back in 2019. So fair roll-up for the Pies, and there's really no reason not to go at the moment.
It's a machine at the moment.
For your old mob boy, I'm sure there's plenty of reason to get along.
Sure is.
Does that mean they've cracked the 1 millionth?
I reckon they just felt.
I think they needed about 60 today, didn't they?
64,
yeah.
I reckon.
Right.
So I reckon they're just short. Yeah.
Just short.
So that's 1 million people going to Collingwood games this year.
Correct.
And it's only taken 17 games. Yeah. Amazing. So big win for them. Fortunately for Fremantle, a dirty day. They were missing key personnel. They lost some more on the run. So Darcy with an ankle injury and Brandon Walker with a knee complaint.
Yep.
Basically, he got hurt moments after they made the sub. So unfortunately, a couple out for the Dockers, and that'll make it a long trip home. They've now lost 5 of their last 6. Meanwhile, the Gold Coast Suns beat St Kilda by 26 points. So a big win for the Suns there up at Carrara. They actually shut out the Saints in the first quarter. St Kilda didn't kick a goal until the second term. And the run continues for the caretaker coach. So first up, a victory for Stephen King earlier today. Brendan Goddard, you watched a fair piece of that game. What did you see from your Saints?
Unfortunately, didn't see any of it, mate.
Didn't see any of the game?
That's unfortunate. I can't make comment.
Can't make too much comment.
No.
Probably fortunately you missed it.
No, I'm lying, Luke. I didn't see the first quarter, thankfully.
Yep.
And then after that, it wasn't much better either. So,
top line thoughts?
It was a bitterly disappointed, really. I think we had a pretty good week. It was pretty clear on what we wanted to improve on. We're pretty happy with last week, to be honest. I think we all felt we dominated that game for longer periods than Melbourne. Some things with our ball use going inside 50 that weren't of a high standard, which really cost us, and then converting in front of goals when we did. So came out of that pretty positive, and considering we had 3 injuries, I think, guys out of the game before the start of the first. So there's a lot to like. So to put in a performance like we did today was really disappointing. So I thought it was really clear what we tried to work on. It was tough at training the other day, actually. It was howling wind, so couldn't really train and work on the things that we wanted to at a high standard because of the conditions. But I thought it was pretty clear in what we worked on earlier in the week in our preparation for the game. And it was really hard to prepare for Gold Coast, reviewing them and doing the opposition analysis, because arguably what they'd done for 16 weeks of the year was kind of relevant with the new coach coming in. So it was kind of prepare what they had done, and then it's kind of like, well, also be prepared for the unknown and what may change under Stephen King. And as we know, the freedom in which teams play. So we knew what was coming in a sense, in terms of the spirit, and the will and desire from the opposition. So it was disappointing.
Absolutely, a win for the Suns by 26. The good news, I guess, for St Kilda is that the teams around their station have all had slip-ups this weekend. So the Bombers well down here, and the Bulldogs losing on Thursday night. And the other match, Carlton by 50 points over Port Adelaide. So concerns for Harry Mackay, who's got a knee injury. Looks like a serious one as well, so fears of an ACL, but Carlton by 50 points. They've now won 4 in a row, all of them by 50 plus. So that's the first time the Blues have done that in club history. Port Adelaide's 13-game win streak is over. So a 50-point win for Carlton, albeit the Power missing some key personnel. Michael Voss is actually going to be our guest tomorrow on Grandstand AFL Sunday. So from 12 noon, we'll chat to the coach of the Carlton Football Club. Beach, the game that you were involved at earlier today was the Sandringham practice match. So Sandy had the bye this week, as did the Casey Demons. There was one pretty high-profile lad rolling around for the opposition team
didn't
today.
Notice him.
Brody Grundy. 2-time Collingwood Best and Fairest winner, 2-time All-Australian. How did he go in the Magoos?
He was okay. It was a kind of unique circumstances we had at the start of the game. Well, they had, let's say, 17 players. We had 12, and they gave us a couple of players. So it was like under 10s back in the day. I think we've all been in the position that played footy. Is the team that was generally, back in my day, it was the struggling team that no one wanted to play for, rocked up on the day with less numbers, and then the opposition had to give them numbers.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we didn't get their best players like it used to happen back in the day in under 10s, just to kind of square up the game and make it a bit more even. So we didn't get Grundy or Harms or Tomlinson. So they had a really strong team. So to answer your question, it was different circumstance. So it ended up being 14 on 14, but Grundy played majority forward. He did some nice things. I thought Tommy Heimel, who played on him most of the day, did a pretty good job in his kind of isolation contest. But
some goals?
They were a strong outfit. I think he might have kicked a couple.
Yep.
And they were a pretty strong outfit. So it was a good experience for us younger guys, younger Saints players too. I was at Keeler playing on Adam Tomlinson, or 2 weeks in a row really, because we did play Casey Demons last week in the VFL, which they just pipped us. So there was some good learnings out of it.
What was Grundy's ruck forward split?
I'm going to say 80-20 maybe, might even be 90-10.
Yeah, 90-10 forward.
Forward ruck, yeah.
Well, I mean, what we saw from Max Gawn last night wasn't didn't bode well, super well for Brody, I don't think.
Yeah.
They've got a big decision to make there, don't they, for the next
Interesting
6 weeks.
comments, I thought, from Max Gawn post-game saying he's committed to making it work.
Say it, yeah. I think it might be out of his hands, though. Sorry, Maxie. Yeah, him forward didn't work. To me, I mean, he was the best player on the ground. It was back to that premiership year winning Max Gawn. So it'd be a really interesting watch over the next month.
Second half coming up here. Cats by 44 on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
Brian with the tap straight down to Perkins. A high kick towards half forward. Great work by Stewart to take the contested grab at centre half back. So good early clearance from the Bombers, but trusty defender and Stewart wins the day. Tumbles a kick inside the centre square. Gets past a few, picked up by Close, who gives it to Stengel. Moving hand pass to Holmes, he gives it back to Stengel from the wing. Hooks the kick around the corner, a high ball towards half forward. Duncan comes across and spoils it down. Zach Guthrie collects, gives it to Blitzarms. He tumbles his kick inside the arc to space. Zerk Thatcher will lead in the chase for Essendon. He picks it up and gives it to Snelling. Hawkins slipped over, so Snelling chips it down the line, and Wright has marked at right half back.
Neither sub made. So Nick Hine for the Bombers and Oisin Mullen for Geelong. 1 minute into this third term. Geelong wide on the scoreboard, a 44-point lead as Wright kicks down the wing. Scoops it, falls through to Guelphy, scoops it up, hand pass away to Martin, back to Guelphy, back to Martin. High half forward, 70 out. Kicks back inside. It'll favour Holmes. Can't bend down to pick it up. Bounces off his knees. O'Connor receives the hand pass. Goes back by hand to Stewart. To Jack Henry. Short kick finds Bowes. He marks at half back for Geelong.
Chips it to Stengel, who's marked it right half back. Redmond stands the mark. Stengel, a couple of goals in that first half. Kicks down the line. Close. Gets up and reels in the mark in front of the interchange gates. He's also got a couple, both coming in a blistering opening term where Geelong kicked 7 goals to none by 46 at quarter time, 44 at the half. It's close. Kicks long down the line. Cameron in front, spoiled away from him. Durham at the fall of the ball. He kicks around the corner, but absolutely nobody there, and Geelong well set up. Collie Jasmine takes the intercepting mark.
He goes short down the wing to O'Connor, who marks, lays a hand pass off to Cameron. He dropped the footy. Then just had to try and soccer it forward. Parrish knocks it out, but straight to Myers. Wins it back for Geelong. He's bowled over illegally. Free kick for Myers.
A funny old night, isn't he, Jessica Cameron? Back from a couple of weeks off after that big knock here against the Swans.
Couple of behinds, hasn't kicked a goal.
Opportunity to kick a couple of goals and got one on the beak and fumble.
Myers inside 50, wanted Hawkins, put one hand up. He was being held by the other. It's a free kick against Ridley, and Hawkins is going to get up left half forward for Geelong.
It hasn't been the deciding factor tonight, Beej, and maybe it's a conversation for after the game, but Zerk Thatcher, Laverde, Ridley on Tom Hawkins, to me, and I know it's not news, is it? One hole in this Bombers team, and we know they're a developing team and they've taken massive steps this year, but that key back, that decent size key back to play on players like Hawkins and Walker and Dixon and the like, still a hole.
Hawkins on the set shot. It's a good start to the second half for the Cats. Straight through it goes. Hawkins got a couple. And Geelong push it back out to 50 points the difference. 3.5 gone third term. 10-10 to 3-2. Grandstand AFL, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, it's a common trend, isn't it? Just the big power forward from opposition teams getting a hold of Essendon and their back line in particular. But again, just the ball. Take you back maybe a minute and a half ago when Martin had a really good look on the far side to kick it inside 50. He literally had nothing to kick it to. So the guy that, when he did look up, the guy that was 30 metres out in front of goal was Jack Henry. So forced to try and create something, and then once Geelong got their hands on the ball, Essendon didn't really see it again. So a couple of fumbles from Jeremy Cameron, which invited the pressure, and then a sloppy free kick from Essendon gave him a pretty good look inside 50.
On the restart, Stanley palms it down to Blitzarves. Had one arm pinned. The ball spills loose. Picked up by Merritt. There's a free kick going the Bombers' way. Advantage is paid. Merritt gives it off to Heppel from the centre square. Kick towards centre half forward again. No one's there for Essendon. And Stewart takes the intercepting grab again. Shoots it forward to Duncan, who's marked inside the centre square. Duncan from centre half back. down the corridor. Heppel with the fist, spills to Myers of Geelong. His hand pass to Stanley, loops the hand pass over the top to Guthrie. He's caught, got the hand pass out, picked up by Caldwell, who had a fumble, then picked up by Rowan of Geelong. He kicks the Cats into attack. So Thatcher playing in front this time against Hawkins and takes the grab.
Goes short to McGrath. The only number one pick in Essendon's history, and aptly has number one on his back as he sends a hand pass out towards Snelling. His handball ends up with Myers. Myers to Dangerfield. A hand pass over his shoulder. Went straight to Laverty of the Bombers, though. Hand pass through the hands of Parrish and then to Snelling, then to Martin. A hurried ball down the wings, a turnover. And Colin Jasney wins it back to the Cats, hands it out wide to Cameron, kicks to half forward. Close competes in the air, no mark. Snelling tries to trap it in for the Bombers. Now Close tackles him over the top. Umpire circles, says play on. Guthrie extracts it back door. Myers scoops a hand pass inside the forward 50. Dangerfield trying to pick up the greasy ball. Got it away to Cameron. Straight up and down in the chimney. Knocked away by O'Connor, but straight to Martin. Still with the Bombers in defensive 50.
Oh, it's an ugly kick off the boot. Rowan at the top of the square sends it through. Another costly error in the Bombers' defence gives the Cats a goal as Gary Rowan gets his first of the night, and we have a new game-high lead, 56 points the way of the home side, 11-10-76 to the Bombers, 3-2-20. 6 minutes played third term on Grandson AFL.
Shades of the first quarter here, Beach, in the first 8 or so minutes of this third quarter. Just the Cats have dialed up the pressure again, locking the ball in that front half. The Essendon forwards getting sucked up the ground to support, such as the pressure. And it's who was it there, Cameron? Yeah, well, it was Nick Martin who, he's not going to make a worse mistake than that, is he? He certainly hasn't in his young career. We're used to him using the ball so well. Just again, though, that perceived pressure in Geelong's front half, rushed the kick and just an absolute shank. Gary Rowan was there to swoop on it.
Comes our 8th different goal kicker tonight. As Jess said, 56 points, as wide as it's been, as Brian wins the hit out back in the middle. Another clearance for Atkins, just sockers it out wide, trying to scoop it up. Durham close to the boundary line, can't trap it, and Smith in the end sees it over. A little nudge from Redmond, boundary throw in just forward of the wing for Geelong. I know I've emphasised him a couple of times tonight. Tom Atkins, number one tackler at Geelong, laid 45 more tackles than the next best. He got 6 votes last week from the coaches, which was actually a top in the game for the win over North Melbourne, so the vote's well spread. He's right onto it here at the coalface again. There's a whistle on the play, though. Free kick. A hold. It's going Essendon's way. It's coming back to Merritt. It'll be against Atkins. And Zach Merritt is having a career year. Walk up All-Australian as he heads down to half forward. Right in the pack. Takani knocks it away. Still there to be won for the Bombers half forward. Langford can't trap it. Bose does well. Swings a hand pass out wide and Smith fumbles it out of play. Throw in 70 out from the Bombers goal. What do you made of him, Bally? Tom Atkins.
Oh, I love him. Yep. Love what he stands for as a player. Obviously, a lot more responsibility through the middle of the ground. He's essentially assumed that Joel Selwood role in a sense, has he? Not a high numbers man, but just give you a... Oh, jeez, yeah.
It might be a dumping tackle.
Yeah,
it is against Parrish on Bruin. A bit of vigour in that. So Bruin to take the free kick at right half back for the Cats. Anything for Parrish to worry about?
Well,
Bally?
yeah, of course. I mean, it's a free kick. I'll have a look at it.
Bruin down the line, off hands. Ollie Henry wins it, gives it to Bose, who gives it to Smith. High up and under kick. Underneath it was Blitzard. Stengel at the fall of the ball. Coughs it up, but Ollie Smith smashes it forward with the fist straight to Kelly of the Bombers. They have it at half back. Laverty slips over as he hand passes it into his opponent's foot. It's a free kick anyway for a high contact. So Chaden Laverty take the free kick. Left half back for Essendon. They trail Geelong by 56.
Good to see him back out there. It looked a pretty nasty one, didn't it, when he came off in that second quarter. So, tough player, no doubt about that. Back to the Parrish one. Well, based on what Caleb Sarong had to go through last week, then, yeah, absolutely. He's got a little bit to worry about.
Huge game, too, for the Bombers next Friday. They're all big on the run home, but it's the Western Bulldogs on Friday night. They're two teams right on the same amount of wins on the season at the moment on 9, and the Bombers at this stage look highly unlikely to go to 10 tonight. They're 56 points down, 10 minutes into the third term, and now Parrish, the dangerous tackle here on Tanner Bruin. Bruin okay, carried on, but as we've seen throughout the year, that doesn't necessarily mean much. 25 suspensions for 33 weeks. Another ball up here on the wing. 56-point lead for the Cats. Half-time, by the way, in Adelaide. Crows by 17 over the Giants. GWS goalless in that second term from the restart. Bruin wins it. Hand pass away to Duncan. Kicks inside 50 for the Cats. Thatcher spoils. McGrath clean below his bootlaces. Kicks hurriedly forward but turns it over. Stewart the intercept mark right on halfway.
Stewart winds up and kicks it high inside the arc to a pack. It spills to Cameron, who's unopposed at left half forward. Kicks it into the pocket. It's a high one. Rowan underneath it. Ball spills to Grant. Laverty bumps off Bruin and then loses the footy. Zerk Thatcher has a go close to the line. Sees it over for a ball in. 40 around from the Cats. Goal. 56-point leaders. 10 minutes into this third term on Grandson AFL. Jess Webster and Corbin Middlemouse calling the action this evening. With Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts, and Lauren Borden on the boundary.
56 points the margin here, Geelong's way. 17 points half-time in Adelaide. Crows over the Giants. From the restart, Hawkins had 2 goes at it. In the end, Snelling just soccers it out of the defensive arc. Trying to backheel in the end is Langford. Can't get anything on it. Ollie Henry extracts it. Hand pass to Guthrie. Handball to Stewart. Slides in. A little fumble. Pretty ugly stuff. And a ball up on that outer wing. 0437 774 774, the SMS number. That's 0437 774 774.
It serves with the big fist and ruck, only as far as Hobbs of Essendon. He hand passes to Kelly and then gives it off to Bruin. He hand passes to Snelling. They're all under pressure. Now to McGrath, hurries the kick down the line. And Guelphy takes a contested grab on halfway. Squaring kick to Martin. Adjacent to the centre circles here at Cardinia Park. Continues the switch to Ridley, who's marked on the logo broadcast wing. Chips it forward to Merritt, who's marked left half forward. 2 kicks from goal. A crowded forward 50. Geelong are well set.
Yeah, it's crowded now. Felt like the kick to Ridley could have gone forward inside 50.
Merritt a long bomb into the arc. Off hands from right. Langford close up against the boundary line. Hooks it around the corner to the top of the square. They've got a mark through Snelling. Great grab under pressure from Will Snelling. He can go back and line up directly in front of the top of the goal square.
It's just that third inside 50 ball. We just highlighted it. Just felt maybe that first one could have gone because by the time it went to Zachy Merritt, he slowed up waiting for a handball that Geelong just got numbers back. But one of the things is the drop-off from Geelong, that when Ridley did look up, he had nothing to kick to but Geelong jumpers.
Snelling pops it through and the Bombers get their first goal in this second half. Cats still well on top, 11-10-76 to Essendon. 4-2 rather, 26-13 played third term of Grandson AFL.
Yeah, well done, Will Snelling. In the end, he takes a contested mark on Tom Stewart, so just used his body. He's a smart player, we know that, really crafty player, and he's actually had 7 possessions for this quarter, so he's certainly having a go from the Bombers. The man who got it to him, I don't know whether they can give Kyle Langford a run in the middle of the ground. He's too good a player. He's only had the 5 possessions, BJ. And look, it's been tough forward of the ball for the Bombers, we know, tonight. But potentially Langford's one that they could get up around the play a bit more because he's such a good user of the footy.
Back to 50 points. 2-1 for the quarter, Geelong's way. Restart back in the middle. Peter Wright doing some of the ruck work. He's outpointed here by Blitzarves. Down to Atkins. Soccers it forward. Burrowing in to win it is Hobbs. He's taken high in the process by Atkins. Free kick for Ben Hobbs. And now 50. There you go. Dangerfield a little slow to get up and release him, and the umpire said, come with me. So Hobbs is going to be marched to centre half forward. Right, the cut of his jib. Ben Hobbs, he kicks to the top of the goal square and turns it over. Stewart takes the intercept mark. He let me down right on cue, the second-year Bomber. 50-point lead for the Cats, 14 gone, third term.
Stewart flares it out wide to Colin Jasny. Chip short to Guthrie. His mark still inside defensive 50. Winds up and kicks it long down the line. Ollie Henry, the target in front, knocked away from him. Bowes overran it. In there as Hobbs and Menzies for the Bombers. They can't collect. Holmes picks it up. He gives it to Smith. Now off to Rowan. He can't slip the tackle of Ridley. Just got the hand pass away, but he's turned it over to Laverty, who's tackled immediately by Ollie Henry. We've got a stoppage just forward of halfway. Geelong into attack. They lead by 50 points over the Bombers.
Umpire tosses it up. Stanley gets rid of right easily. Ball spills down to Parrish. Hurried kick up into the front half for the Dons. Stringer does well. Got rid of Kolajasny. Spilt the footy. Then he's drilled in a tackle by O'Connor. Ump says I'll have it. Ball up in front of the benches. Lauren Borden's down there for us. Loz, any activity on either bench?
No, everyone looks pretty calm here. Whether it's Geelong, they're just taking it in the way they normally take it, pretty comfortable, and the Bombers aren't doing much either. So I've just seen Sam Wiedemann's been put down there on Gary Rowe, and Brent Stanton went out there and just made a bit of a change as the runner.
And still neither sub used?
No, neither sub used. Nick Hine was doing a little bit of running along the boundary, but then he's gone back and sat at the back of the bench.
So Hind and Mullen, the two subs. What are you seeing, Beach? Boundary throwing here.
Well, Wiedemann's gone back, and then Jaden Laverty's actually gone to a deep forward, which is generally reserved for Kyle Langford. So maybe that foot's just affecting a little bit, and the painkillers are wearing off.
Yeah,
possibly.
Boundary throw in. Hobbs squeezes a kick forward. We've got another boundary throw in here between wing and half forward for the Dons.
Oh, it's worth a try, isn't it? Brad Scott, throw the magnets around a little bit. I mentioned Langford. Could he get up around the ball? Stringer hasn't had enough of it. Laverty, who was drafted as a forward, played his first few years as a forward. We know that. Goes bound. Sam Wiedemann, see if he can have an impact in the air.
From the throw-in, Smith was held. He gets a free kick, much to the delight of the Cats faithful here at Cardinia Park.
They've been hard done by these Cats faithful.
It's got Gary Rowan, Wiedemann, Beach. I'm not sure that's a match-up for him. I don't want to see that foot race.
Isaac Smith, the long bomb towards half-forward. Ollie Henry, the target. Heppel with the fist. So too Zerk Thatcher. Straight to the boundary. It's over and out. How will the umpires see this? Throw it in. Between wing and half forward, Geelong into attack. The margin is 50 points. 16 played in this third term of Grandson AFL.
G'day to Mitch from Fitzroy, who's listening to our coverage, Paulie. Listening to your coverage while on a train from Paris to Bruges in Belgium. Go the Cats.
Oh, God.
A European summer.
Oh, nice
Enjoy
way.
that.
From where you'd rather be.
Yeah.
Swap you, Mitch.
Nice way to do it, Mitch. 0437 774 774.
Bet you it's not 7.5 degrees there.
Yes. Hurried kick forward from the Dons as a turnover. Perkins puts it straight on the chest of Duncan. Mid-July, cool night. 7 degrees at the Cattery. Short kicking game for the Cats. Short to Holmes, short to Bowes. Front edge of the centre square. He's told to go now, so he just kicks long into the forward pocket. Running out after it. Cameron got hands to it, no mark. Spills to Hawkins. Hands it to Myers. He shoots goalward. He's off target. Out on the full. He's missed the whole set. Remains at 50 points the difference. 11-10 to 4-2. 17 and a half gone in the third term.
Boundary umpires socketed the footy back towards the goal line. Wanted to get in on the action. Ridley picks up the other footy and from the kick in, kicks it short to McGrath, who gives it back to Ridley, then loops the hand pass over the top to Heppel. Chips it forward and finds Wiedemann at right half back. Geelong by 50. Wiedemann thumps it long down the line to a pack. Oh, Stewart in the pack. Got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Got a bit of leverage as the ball is hacked forward. Stringer in a one-on-one against Duncan, who goes to ground. Stringer over the top of him, picks up the footy, tumbles it inside forward 50. Isaac Smith standing in the hole and takes the intercepting grab for the Cats and 50. So Isaac Smith will be marched to the middle of Cardinia Park.
Fans getting involved. Here he is, their Norm Smith medalist. Isaac Smith kicks it out wide to Stanley, who marks 55 out half forward. The wraparound hand pass to Zach Guthrie. Low trajectory kick straight onto the chest of Hawkins. He's tough to try and reel in that scenario. Zerk Thatcher, toughest, most unenviable task in the game in that particular spot. Now Hawkins will have a set shot. Slightly worse than a 45-degree angle, 45 out.
End-to-end stuff. Isaac Smith getting back. It's been actually a pretty good battle on the wing, that one. Smith's been good tonight. He's had the 19 possessions. Nick Martin has had 19 as well from the Bombers. Haven't gone near each other for a lot of the night, to be fair, but a bit too easy there for the Cats. The 50-metre penalty never helps, does it? Just concedes that deep entry.
Hawkins on the set shot. Rarely leaves an opportunity out there. No different here. Through it goes for his third. And Geelong's lead grows again, back to 56 points, 19 and a half gone, third term. Grandstand AFL, Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Probably just feels like it's now just at that turning point now where Essendon have a choice whether just to keep persisting, try and get something out of the game, or will they roll over these last 6 minutes in particular and just Geelong really get a stranglehold, not that they haven't already, but just really start to dominate and put the foot down on the throat. So again, but it's just Jakey Stringer was out there as a rush kick, but he was a 3 against 1. He did a great job to actually win the ball on the far side on a half-forward flank. But when the ball went forward, Jake's up against 3 guys. There was 2 originally, and then 1 got back for support, and then the rush kick forward where Isaac Smith's got great position defensively on Sam Durham, and then from there, it's a 50-metre penalty. But that's been a bit of a trend that just the support and stability behind the ball for Geelong is just too strong.
From the restart, Stanley gives it to Atkins. Kick around the corner towards half forward. Kelly is there for the Bombers. Couldn't complete the mark. And gives it to Brian, to Cordwell, all under pressure. Plenty of numbers around the footy. Picked up by Stanley of the Cats. To Bowes. He hand passes defensively to Rowan. He gives it to Duncan. And now the kick comes into space. A well-weighted kick. Bowes on the end of it is marked on halfway, close to the boundary. Geelong by 56. They'd kicked 2 of the 3 goals in this third term.
Former Gold Coast Sun. Jack Bowes inside the forward 50. Brian tries to knock it away. Spills down the Cats' way. Cameron's onto it. Short kick to Hawkins. Takes the mark. Same pocket where he goaled moments ago, and in characteristic fashion just presses up on the Sharon with his full body weight. And he'll have a set shot here, right forward pocket again. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Nick Hines just run on as the sub. It looks like Laverty's come off. He's not sitting at the back of the bench, but he's definitely come back off now.
It's a great example, centre-bounce here, of what's happened though tonight, Beej. Bombers' first possession, but the Cats' pressure and ability was Dangerfield there, just the strength to be able to strip the ball back. Then they end up winning the clearance, get the ball forward, and Hawkins on the end of it.
Tighter angle, same pocket, same result. Hawkins has got 4. And the route is well and truly on. 22 gone, third term. Geelong 13-10-88. Essendon 4-2-26. New game high. The reigning premiers by 62.
Well, they've got the bye. They've got the draw, the Cats.
They got the bye this week.
Got the draw, so they're 38 points, but so do Carlton, and I think it's Sydney as well, and Richmond, of course, that are on 30. So quick look at the live ladder. Here's a nice little percentage boost at the moment for the Cats, and right now they're sitting in 5th. So 2 weeks ago they've come from outside the 8, a couple of big wins at home, and the chase is on. As we heard Chris Scott say, they're the danger for this last 6 weeks of the season.
Brisbane, Freo and Port in their next 3. And then Collingwood thereafter.
From the middle, Stanley with the tap. Merritt knocks it on. Cordwell overran it. Dangerfield picks it up. Hand pass at half back to Duncan. Chips it into the path of Stanley. Had a fumble, then knocked it on to Atkins, who's had a good night. He hand passes to Smith on the wing. A low pass down the line to Rowan. He wants to use the corridor. Great mark. The one-hander by Dangerfield, who reels it in inside the centre square. Then it's an ugly kick off the boot. Lands into the lap of Snelling in the left back pocket, and he chips it short. Looking for Wiedemann. The ball didn't have enough carry, and now the ball's in dispute inside forward 50. Martin has a go. It spills out to McGrath, who kicks out wide to Stringer in a one-on-one against Blitzarps, who wins the battle.
Blitzarps sent a hand pass away to Rowan. Cats coming inside 50 again, and close marks 48 out. Just in for the boundary line, just in from the 50, right half forward. The short way of saying that, run ahead, by the way, Bawley, for Geelong's draw. They play the top 3 teams in the next 4 weeks. So they've got each of the Pies, the Power and the Lions in their next month.
Yeah, and none of them. Oh, it's Port's here, I think. So, they'll look forward to all of those in this form.
Brisbane at the Gabba, Collingwood at the G, and Fremantle down here in between. A long kick from close right to the goal line. It's whacked through by Brian. So behind a 63-point lead for the Cats. Time on third term.
Great win that by Mark Blitzarves here. Out of position on Jake Stringer. He's had a good night. Blitzarves, 18 possessions, 12 of those contested.
From the kick in, the Bombers work it to half-back. Kelly stripped of the footy. It spills out of play, and we're going to have a throw-in. Left half forward for Geelong. Rush behind, the first behind of this third quarter. We've had 4 goals to 1 Geelong's way. Margin sits at 63. Blitzarves and Bryan to battle in ruck. Short-ish throw in. Blitzarves palms it down straight to Dangerfield. Left foot snap around the corner to Rowan in the pocket. Can't get hands to it. Then goes after it again. The ball spills loose. Picked up by Guelphy. Is that a throw? It is a throw. So it's a free kick to Geelong inside forward 50. Just a matter of, I think it's O'Connor who might have got the tackle and the free kick. It is going Mark O'Connor's way. So he's going to line up for a shot on goal, 40 metres out, slide angle to the left.
Good spot, Jess. He was the one laying the tackle, so only fair it's his kick.
The Irishman, 6 goals in his career, 2 coming this year. The 26-year-old. 40 out, no mistake. That margin keeps growing. 69 points, Geelong 14-11-95 to Essendon 4-2-26. 26 play, third term, Grayson AFL.
Yeah, it was getting very
ugly
for Essendon fans.
Play a little jig for Mark O'Connor.
Can we,
just for him, not for everyone else.
Can we tap into this? I don't know if we can have a listen. There you go.
Oh, yeah, good.
We haven't had theme songs all night, but Mark O'Connor's got his own track.
Oh, it's a party here. Party down here at the Cattery. Mark O'Connor getting in on the act.
Well, not for everyone else, is it? They don't play that tune for Zach Tui even.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, getting very ugly for Essendon here. It's just a matter of, I think, the three-quarter time. Soren can't quick enough just to reset and then try and get something out of this game in the last quarter for the Bombers.
I thought it might have been like the WWE and O'Shane Mullen was entering the game and he had his own entrance music that hit as he ran on the ground. Out of the middle, picked up by Atkins on that outer wing. He can't control it, so inadvertently knocks it away to Blitzarves and he's held up. 69 points, Geelong's lead. It's a new game high. They've dominated this third term. They've kicked 5 goals to 1. So really kicking to the Barwon River end of the ground. They've kicked 12 goals to 1 in the game. Completely blown Essendon off the park in that first quarter. 7 goals to zip at quarter time, and that was the match. And Geelong slowly working it forward. Ollie Henry's tackled now. So another stoppage. Plenty of players around the footy. High half forward for Geelong.
Ryan with the tap down for Essendon, straight down to Atkins of Geelong. Gives it off to Stengel at left half forward. Pokes his pass into the pocket. Cameron on the lead. Couple of attempts and takes the mark. 50 out from goal, left half forward.
Well, this will be a bit of I think it's Sam Wiedemann that's on the mark. So he's now playing on Jeremy Cameron. I don't think I've ever seen Wiedemann playing as a defender. So with the Verdi off the ground, now we just already a little bit light on for key defenders, aren't they? So
a couple of behinds tonight to Jeremy Cameron. Back into the side tonight. And that was perhaps not his best kick, an understatement indeed. Essendon with the free kick for out of bounds on the full in the right back pocket.
He kicked 2 behinds and 1 on the full now.
Yeah.
Jeremy Cameron. They've had 9 goal kickers without him.
Which is a good sign, isn't it? It's a nice opportunity for him just to work his way back into the team after a couple of weeks off.
Redmond long to the pack at halfback, spills to Parrish. His hand pass straight to a teammate who's locked up in Guelphy.
Certainly moved very well. And interesting, Chris Scott to be starting to think about who he can drag off in this last quarter and give a rest for the night of next week.
Reaching over the back, Myers, hand pass away to Stengel, kicks inside the forward 50, Ollie Henry. Bangs bodies with Redmond in the air. Ball comes down. McGrath socketed it straight to Perkins. Not 15, said the umpire. Hands it back to McGrath. His hand pass a little too hot for Guelphy. Cats had it, lost it, and Bombers win it back again. It's going to be Perkins who kicks off the back flank. Down to Stringer and Stewart. Stringer pushes Stewart in the back. Free kick Geelong.
Squares it up to Henry, who chips it forward and finds Zach Guthrie. He switches it to the broadcast side and finds Duncan, who kicks up towards half forward. and finds Zach Smith. Isaac Smith runs around on the angle, pumps it a full forward, and that's a good mark taken by Brian on the last line of defence.
His coach during the week, Brad Scott, said he's way too good to be playing VFL. You mentioned Beach, Nick Bryan, he's had some good numbers in the twos, gets a look in with no Draper, no Phillips.
First winner for Bombers VFL last year, I think.
He finds Stringer at half-back. Stringer heads down the wing, hands on it from Blitzarps, no mark, and that'll do us. Three-quarter time. Cats by 69 points. 5 goals to 1 in that third term. It's been wide throughout. They kicked the first 7 goals of the game, and the Bombers completely blown off the park here. The Cats were undefeated in their last 3 weeks. They're about to make it 4. As the three-quarter time is upon us. 9 different goal kickers for the Cats. Tom Hawkins has 4. 3 of them came in that third term, and we've got the Irish folk music back on again, which we heard after the goal for Mark O'Connor. The crowd's getting involved in that. If you don't want to listen to them celebrate, don't let them score, is the old saying. So I'm sure the Bombers won't like it, but the Cats fans are having a party. 2 for Stengel, 2 for Close, 1 each for Rowan, Myers, Dangerfield, Ollie Henry, O'Connor and Blitzarps, while for Essendon, 1 each for Snelling, Wright, Stringer and Menzies. 69 points the difference. Three-quarter time at Cardinia Park. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball next on Grandstand AFL. Plus your contributions on the SMS 0437 774 774, the SMS number. This is Grandstand AFL.
A young woman stands in a recording booth speaking into a microphone. She's an audio describer. And she's here to tell you that audio description is now available on hundreds of shows on ABC iView, which is great news for more than 500,000 Australians who are blind or have low vision, or anyone who has trouble following the plot. The audio describer is pointing to herself. Audio description on ABC iView. Sounds like ABC.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Isaac Smith kicks it out wide to Stanley, who marks 55 out half forward. The wraparound hand pass to Zach Guthrie. Low trajectory kick straight onto the chest of Hawkins. Hawkins on the set shot. Rarely leaves an opportunity out there. No different here. Through it goes for his third. Jack Bowes inside the forward 50. Brian tries to knock it away. Spills down the Cats' way. Cameron's onto it. Short kick to Hawkins. Takes the mark. Same pocket. Tighter angle. Same pocket. Same result. Hawkins has got 4. And the route is well and truly on.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
One-way traffic down the M1 and certainly here at Cardinia Park tonight. 69 points the margin. The good news is the three-quarter time entertainment, the lad that's been pulled out of the crowd has just beaten the big flame that wraps around the advertising hoardings, which he has to try and beat for some sort of a reward, and that's happened. So they're very happy with that, Beach, the locals here in Geelong. A 69-point lead for the Cats, 14-11-95 over Essendon, 4-2-26. Meanwhile, the other game at... where's that being played? Adelaide Oval between the Crows and the Giants. Crows led by 5 at quarter time, 17 at half time, and they lead by 16 halfway through the third term. So 54-38, 8-6 to 5-8 the scoreline in Adelaide. What have you made of this here? Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball, three-quarter time at Geelong.
Well, not much that quarter, let's be honest. It was all Geelong again, but I just keep going back to... Even when Essendon win the ball, their chances of actually scoring at the other end are so slim because of the stability and what Geelong have set up behind the ball. So their defenders, one letting a spare actually be free, and quite often, as we know, it's Tom Stewart. But he's initially not that spare. They get back to pick up Tom Stewart's man, whoever it is, spare, to free up Tom Stewart because he's so good at it. But then at other times, they just have that. There's 2-3. There's one occasion where it was 4 against 1 ahead of the ball for Essendon. So even if they do win it, so they're doing a better job around the ball, which they've got so many numbers, so it should be a better contest and made harder for Geelong to actually win the ball around the contest because Essendon have so many numbers. But when they actually win it now, just their ability to go forward, there's no flow on the ball because when they do win it and they happen to get maybe a mark, that they look up and that they see literally just Geelong jumpers spare ahead of the ball, so they can't go forward with any speed. So that's
So Beej, on that. So you're right. The high forwards for the Bombers are getting dragged up in the contest. Because the Cats have been way too strong around the ball, so they're committing extra numbers. Is it time now just to hold 6 and just put it on the midfield? Put your best and strongest midfielders in there. Say, guys, the only chance we're going to score is if you guys get to work, at least win or halve it, and give our forwards an opportunity 6v6. I think that's because that quarter it was 5 inside 50s to what was it to 18 again.
16.
16.
16.
So 51 to 21 for the game. So I understand why they've been dominated around the ball, and the Cats' pressure has been just overwhelmed the Bombers, and they've made them look second rate, to be honest. But I think now for this last quarter, I'd love to see Brad say, righto, that hasn't worked. Forwards are going to hold 6v6. Mids, I'm going to put it on you. You got to go and try and win at least half, or our fair share of the ball, and give us a chance to score.
Because what the issue is, and we talked about Zachy Merritt, to him start as a half forward, and O'Connor will go to him, but he can come up to create that extra number. So essentially, you've got 2 more players around the ball when O'Connor goes with him, because he's following him everywhere. So you can still create 5v5 ahead of the ball. But what is when they look most dangerous, in my opinion, is Geelong when they do win it off the turnover from behind the ball, from Tom Stewart, Henry to Koning, the setup behind the ball, they just look so dangerous then going forward. So Essendon can't lay a finger on them and then get the ball back off them once they do win it from that turnover in their back half in particular. And even when they win it deep inside 50, or in their D50, defensive 50, that is D50 for Geelong, they're doing such a good job at moving the ball. Because the odds of that happening at AFL level are very slim. So when you do win it back or turn it over in your forward 50, the opposition's ability to move the ball from their D50 to their forward 50 is really hard. But the ease at which Geelong are doing that is just too much, too easy for mine. One, because Essendon can't find them, particularly through the midfield, and defend them. But because they've got a +2 or at times +3 behind the ball, they use that outnumber so well to then create an outnumber down the field and gives them a really good look then going inside 50 the other way, and that just can't happen. So to fix the problem, like you just said, get equal numbers ahead of the ball for Essendon.
20 minutes and time on to go. 69 points, the Cats lead. Out of the middle, socket forward by the Bombers. Martin had it, gave a hand pass away to Durham, and he's tackled and a ball up again into centre square. The final term underway. Stanley wins the hit out down to O'Connor. Hurried kick forward for the Cats. Perkins spoils down to Hind. His kick straight back to O'Connor. I'll try again. Kicks out wide to Mullen. There's the sump for the Cats. We'll get down to Loz in just a moment. He's on the ground. Oshin Mullen. On a 2 Irishmen out there, no Tui today after his record-breaking feats last week. The ball ends up out on the wing with Bowes. Kicks down to half forward for Myers. Myers inside 50. Cameron can't bend down to pick it up. Turns inside out. Gee, Perkins just walks it over the boundary line. The upstairs delivery. Not enough intent to try and keep that in, and he's going to have to hand the footy straight to Jeremy Cameron.
He was on his left foot.
Yeah, that's where he likes him.
And he knows we know how good he is at the snap.
He rolls around, preferred left boot, snaps goalward. He's missed again.
Skinny.
Bit rusty, isn't he? He's just a bit off tonight, Cesar. He's moving well, but that's one he'd usually just knock over. No problems at all.
He's kicked 3 behinds and 1 out on the 4. Lauren Borden is on the boundary. Loz.
Yes, Ocean Mullen came on at 3/4 time to no fanfare, no Irish jig or anything like that. It looks like it's Paddy Dangerfield who's come off, though. He's just getting a rub down now on the bench, has his right boot off, a little bit of that right calf that he's getting worked on now.
It's smart, isn't it? It's a nice luxury for Chris to be able to afford.
Bombers from the kick-in work it to the wing. Zerk Thatcher marks in front of the interchange gates. Oshin Mullen, he hasn't kicked a goal in AFL yet. Imagine the celebration if he does get his first goal in the competition. The Bombers have turned it over inside their attacking 50. Duncan, the uncontested mark. Kicks long, looking for Rowan on the wing. Zerk Thatcher with the fist brings it to ground. And then Blitzars taps it forward to Rowan from the logo broadcast side. Hand passes inboard to Bruin. Spearing kick is a good one. Hits Stengel on the chest at centre half forward. Can wheel and go. Looks for Hawkins in the pocket and gets him. Marks in front of Wiedemann and he'll line up. 45 out, a 10 in from the boundary.
Off the SMS, hi team, Stan from Victoria. You're doing a great job trying to make this call exciting when it's such a one-sided affair. Who would have thought? Wondering, do you think the brothers talk about their games, or is that prohibited? Speaking about, obviously, Brad and Chris coaching against each other tonight for the 14th time.
I think Brad said, didn't he, that Chris doesn't ring him? So, no, but I think they do. I think they would. Both statesmen of the game, aren't they? But Mrs. Scott wouldn't be happy with it tonight too much.
Hawkins from half forward for 5. Touched on the line. Through for a minor. 14-12, 14-13-97, I think, to 4-2-26. 3 minutes played, final term on Grandson AFL.
Ridley brings it in, goes short to Hind. He hands it straight back to Ridley. He's going to kick wide out to Zerk Thatcher at half back. Mick Moldhouse told us last night when they played against the Suns in Guy McKenna's first year at the Gold Coast, not only did they catch up the day before the game, Guy gave Mick a tour of the facilities. And then they went and coached against one another the next day. Obviously involved in a couple of premierships together at the West Coast Eagles. The long kick from the Bombers down the wing ends up with Atkins. Hands it away to De Koning. Kicks to half forward. Rowan can't trap it. Goes to ground. Martin short kick. Tough one to try and handle for Hobbs. He picks it up. Tackled. Dispossessed. Bowes got a hand pass out to Atkins. Flares it wide to Rowan. Hand pass to Mullen. Kick smothered. With his left boot, Hind with the 1%er. And a boundary throw in half forward for Geelong. Coming home to the old Ablett Terrace end, where we've got half a grandstand still being constructed at the city end of the stadium. Meanwhile, the game in Adelaide approaching three-quarter time. Still 17 points Adelaide's way. 26 gone third term.
Geelong by 71 here. Ball back into play from the throw-in. Cameron had his kick smothered. Spills out to Bruin, who was collected high. It's a free kick at half forward. Involved in a dangerous tackle earlier this evening. Darcy Parish might be in a bit of trouble during the week. Bruin winds up and sends a high ball inside the arc. Hawkins had a couple to beat, and Zerk Thatcher did that well and takes the intercepting grab.
You mentioned Wiedemann playing in defence earlier, Beach. He's gone 7 weeks now without a goal.
Maybe he's a fullback.
Maybe he's a fullback, yeah.
It's worth a try. Again, we spoke about the lack of real size as a key back too, so absolutely worth a try.
Kick goes out wide to Heppel. He kicks down the wing, sits up for right, hand pass away to Stringer, heads to Guelphy in a one-on-one. Not a great kick for him. Hung in the air and Stewart's able to beat him easily. Heads back to half forward. Myers between two Bombers. Hugs it to his chest and has got it just inside the eastern boundary line.
He's had a great night. This will be his 23rd possession, Myers. Thought he got him going too in that first quarter. Kicked a goal. Yeah.
And a goal as well in his 100th milestone game. Kicks Geelong into attack. Off hands. Cameron laying a tackle. It spills to Stengel. Hand pass to Holmes, who gives it to Hawkins. Has a fumble close to the line. Hand passes over his head to Holmes. Slips a tackle and jams it on the right boot. Inside 50. Knocked away from Duncan. Spills to Stengel. 45 out. Close to the boundary. Sends a high kick to full forward out the back. Smith. Coming through as Hobbs. Last line of defence for Essendon. His kick smothered. Good pressure applied from Stanley. It's close to the line. Blitzarm's happy to see it over. We've got a throw in 40 around from the Cats goal. They lead by 71. Early stages, final term.
I mentioned Myers. He's had career highs in the last 2 weeks. So he's gone 27 disposals and then 32 last week. What do you say? He's got 23 so far tonight. So well on his way to another big night. He's at the coalface here. Ball passes him by. Hobbs picks it up. Hand pass away to Redmond for the Bombers. Floats a kick down the wing. Pushed away by Stanley. Snelling picks it up. Guthrie tackles him and a ball up on the wing. No name attached to this one, but poolside southern Spain. Pleasant 31 degrees. Loving the Blues and almost as much love listening to the Cats, dominating now off the SMS 0437 774 774.
You're going to have to moderate these messages, Corby. I think it's a little bit jealous, I think. Lots of people over in Europe at the moment. Meanwhile, Stengel gets a free kick at half forward for the Cats for a hold. Send Geelong inside 50 once again, looking for Hawkins over his head. And Henry can't keep it alive, so we've got a throw in 30 around from the Cats goal.
And Gary Ablett Jr. must have played sort of country footy today. Had 25 disposals, kicked 2 goals for Druin in their loss to Morwell.
Wow.
Well done to the little master. I'm sure he'd be travelling home from that and listening to ABC radio tonight, seeing how his old team's going. From the boundary throwing, Caldwell hand pass away to McGrath. Kicks out into open space on that outer wing. Here's Holmes for the Cats. Sweeping hand pass though to Duncan to Colajasny. Work it down to half forward. Hand pass to Bruin. Feeds Hawkins. Bursting out on that lead in characteristic fashion, hugs it to his chest. Right forward pocket, he'll kick from 25 out.
Nice user, Bruin, isn't he? He's an emerging player. We know he's a high draft pick and got him back home. He's just the next stage of his game. He's a high teen sort of possession guy. Certainly, great clearance player, tough. No issues there. The next stage of his game will be get those numbers up over sort of 20-25. But every time he gets it, he usually kicks it to someone. This is Hawkins in his favourite left to right pocket.
Goalless in the opening term, and the Cats blew the Bombers off the park. But he's got involved thereafter, and he now has 5. Tomahawk with another bag against the Bombers. 15-13, 103. Essendon have stalled at 4-2-26. 8.5 gone final term. And the game high margin continues to grow. It balloons out to 77 points the Cats' way. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Brad's trying to swing the magnets around. We've got Andy McGrath up on a wing. I saw Mason Redmond on a wing earlier for the start of that quarter. Perkins is playing as a defender. Wiedemann's as a defender. So it might be just maybe sending a message too that just kind of reeks of a few moves that Rossi Lyon used to make in the day. Paulie, just if you don't want to apply pressure and play your role as a forward, you can go down back and see what it's like to be under pressure. We're told that story already of Rossi dropping Stephen Milne and Nick Dalsano after the poor performance at
So that does happen
SCG
at the elite level too. That's just not reserved for community or junior footy.
Geelong with the last 4 of the game, either side of three-quarter time. Back in the middle, Blitzarves has a fresh airy. Picked up by Parrish. Hand passes to Bryan, who gets boot to ball towards half forward. Bowes in the contest against Hobbs wins the day, takes the mark at centre-half back. Chips it forward to Atkins inside the centre square. Hand passes back to Bowes, running off half-back. Chips it into the middle and finds Duncan. Good build-up here from Geelong. Almost getting numbers back as Duncan sends it inside forward 50 and Blitzarves has marked in space.
Just turning into a training drill, isn't it? Yep. Just unattended, untouched, just link-up play, finding uncontested marks, short kicks.
That's just Blitzarves spreading forward from a centre bounce too, with plenty of time for an opponent to locate him. And that's been the story right from the first quarter, really. They've just worked harder, out into space, been stronger in the contest. Bowes wins the one-on-one against Hobbs. Lovely kick from Duncan.
Blitzarves, 30 out, slide angle to the right. He's got his second. And the margin is now beyond 80. 83 points the difference. Geelong 16-13, 109 to the Bombers 4-2-26. 11 played final term on Grandstand AFL, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
So just to flip it, obviously there's a lot in this for Essendon.
Or Corbin Middlemans.
There'll be a big part, in the postscript. But the night for Geelong, so they had 2 wins and a draw in their last 3. They're going to win here. And they've probably got a season-defining stretch coming up against the top 3 teams in their next 4. How close are they, do you think, from the unit that we know them to be from last season?
Yeah, they're building, aren't they? They're getting close. I mean, Cam Guthrie's really the only one. Radigalia goes out, Tui rested tonight, but they're pretty close to full strength, aren't they? With Stanley back in the ruck too, so Dangerfield with the luxury of sitting out this last quarter. I thought he looked pretty sharp up until then. So, yep, I wouldn't want to be playing the Cats in the next 6 weeks.
Yep,
they'll be 5th, comfortably 5th tonight too.
I think they'll be the 5th team too for a lot of people in their premiership hierarchy when they look through.
Yeah,
maybe even higher.
Well, I don't think they can finish. It's probably the gaps. I think they'll be a game and a half, maybe 2. The gap's probably a bit too great potentially. Or if they beat Brisbane, they could reel them in after Brisbane's disappointing finish last night. So, but they'll certainly back themselves against any of those top 4 teams.
It is up there at the Gabba though. So Brisbane do play much better there than down here.
Yep.
It's an interesting run for the Cats. I mean, they get the chance to test themselves against really good opposition leading into the finals, which I think would hold them in good stead as the Bombers work it down to half forward, but Zach Guthrie takes an intercept mark, and the crowd love that.
He's become a good player, isn't he, Zach Guthrie? Talk about his brother Cam not being there, but this guy's certainly holding his own and becoming a really good AFL player.
So he'll be back on the eve of the finals. Cam Guthrie at best, end of the regular season. They've got 18 of a possible 22 premiership players out there. The 23rd obviously being Joel Selwood, who's retired, but A little closer to the team that got it done on the last day of the 2022 season as Ollie Henry sends the Cats down to half forward, turns it over, and Parrish with the intercept mark half back for the Bombers.
Who else is missing? Corb, so Tui, Guthrie,
Buse, and Parfitt.
Okay.
Bad kick from Parrish. Put Snelling under pressure. Bruin collects. He's brought to ground.
Sorry, Jess. I think Buse is certainly an important player in this team against those top 4 teams. It seems like they've gone past Parfitt in favour of Bruin and a few others, so they're almost full strength.
From the stoppage, Caldwell gets boot to ball into the centre of the ground, off hands. Bruin picks it up for the Cats and passes to Duncan. Martin got a hand in there for the Bombers. It spills to Atkins, who gives it to Holmes. He hacks a kick forward, a tumbling ball towards the arc. Wiedemann collects. He chips it into the centre square. There's a whistle on play. Free kick to the Bombers. Durham was held.
So free kick for Sammy Durham. He's fast become one of my favourite Bombers, Sam Durham. Chippy from Seymour, who got picked up in the mid-season draft, and the blue-collar guy that every team craves as he goes short to Heppel, down to half-forward. Guelphy, head hard from Jack Henry. Ball spills Guthrie's way, kicked to centre-half back. Nick Martin breaks it up, spills down to Menzies to the top of the goal square. Nick Bryan with the climb over the back of DeConing and takes the mark top of the goal square.
Bit of his athleticism on show there.
Ooh.
Great contest from Jack Henry here, just to get a fingernail and get a body on Wolf.
Nick Bryan, this is his 3rd start for the year. The only other 2 out west in Perth. Nick Bryan, top of the goal square, knocks it through. He's first of the night. And for the Bombers, it's just their 5th in 3.5 quarters of footy. 5-2-32, Geelong 16-13, 109. Nick Bryan going it alone tonight in the absence of Phillips and Draper. Geelong's lead down to 77 points midway through the 4th. You mentioned, we talked about his VFL form, Beach. What's he been doing at the lower level? Has he been dominating?
Yeah, he was injured early in the year and then come back, and I think he's been in pretty good form. So not only with his tap work, he's a really good athlete, jumps really well, centre square bounce. He's a little bit probably light on. But that, again, saying that if you put on too much weight, it might take away a bit of his strength, which is his agility and ability to get around the ground. So, and he finds the footy at VFL level, quite often having more than 20 touches. So it's a pretty good return from a young ruckman.
Back in the middle, Stanley against Wright in the ruck. Stanley with the tap. Wright picks it up and tumbles it forward. Nick Martin has a fumble. Perkins has ripped off the footy. No free kick. Picked up by Duncan. His kick, hand pass rather, intercepted by Redmond. Gives it off to Durham, and now Parrish. The kick inside 50 over the head of Bryan, and out the back taking the grab is Kolajasny on the last line of defence. Kicks across the face of goal to Stewart. Chips it forward to Atkins, still inside defensive 50. Geelong by 77 points. Nick Bryan with the last goal of the game for Essendon as Atkins finds O'Connor at centre-half back.
Pretty lousy night for a milestone for Zach Merritt as well. Playing his 200th game this evening is O'Connor to Atkins. He kicks down the wing, and here's Max Holmes, who shows the footy and then decides to go himself. Kicks to centre-half forward. Heppel knocks it down to Parrish. Hand pass away to Perkins. Back to Heppel by hand. Handball in the middle to Hobbs. Hot hand pass for Heppel. Goes to ground. Still wins the footy. Got it out to Parrish. Hand pass to Hobbs. Shakes a would-be tackle. Kicks short to Bryan. Front edge of the centre square. Drills his pass to centre-half forward for Martin. Martin chips it inside 50, and here's Langford embarks centre-half forward. The Bombers' leading goal kicker will shoot from about 40 out.
It was good ball movement, wasn't it? It's won the contest in the middle, really slick hands from Hobbs a number of times. Looks like they're about to lose it. Heppel found on the ground, and then some good ball use going forward. Was Bryan again involved, just changed the angle with his legs and moving the ball and got it to the open side, which found Martin. Then an easy Stewart either had the choice to go back to the goal square on the opponent or come up to Langford, so he was caught in between and just hit up Langford on a little lead.
Langford puts it through. It's a goal in his last 10 games now for Cole Langford. The Bombers' leading goal kicker this year with 33. It really hasn't been a night to pad any of those stats tonight. The Bombers just with 6 majors, 6-2-38. Geelong 16-13, 109. Cats by 71 points, 18 gone, final term. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Gary Rowan's been struggling with his right ankle since the first quarter. He's just come off limping, had a smile on his face though, and has undone the shoelaces on his shoes. So he's done for the day as well. Just got his jacket on the boundary.
Yeah, put him on ice. Important they played out here, the Bombers, because percentage we certainly think is going to play a big part in the next 6 weeks. And Kyle Langford, I think he's possibly the best set shot kick in the competition.
Wow.
Just technically, just not much can go wrong with it. It's just beautiful.
From the restart, Hobbs gets boot to ball. Gets it up towards half forward, close to the lines. Stewart attacks it. Can't take it with him. Now Bose has a go. The boundary line beats them all. Throw in at half forward for the Bombers, trailing by 71 points.
It's
live.
Sorry. It's high praise, but it's not a deep field, is it?
Well, yeah, I had a quick think about it as to hook. I mean, Taylor Walker's the obvious one, who's I think might be leading the Coleman after tonight. But yeah, you're right. It's not a Cox Plate field, as they say.
From the throw in, Atkins. And pass looking for Duncan over his head, picked up by McGrath, gives it to Parrish, he has a fumble. In comes Myers for the Cats, gives it to Bose, his hand pass to Duncan who wasn't looking. Close is there, he has a fumble. Ball squirts out the back to Atkins, who's caught in a tackle. Hobbs and Hind gets him, and it's holding the ball. Free kick to the Bombers in front of the interchange gates. You mentioned percentage balling might play a factor in the run home. Currently the live ladder as it stands, Essendon have slipped out of the 8, currently in ninth position.
The kick from Hind down towards half forward, spills to Langford. His hand pass is pushed over the boundary line, and we'll have a throw in here half forward for the Bombers. It's a team that started in 5th at the start of the night, the Dons.
And Geelong, who started in 8th, have currently moved up to 5th on the live ladder.
Crows leading the Giants by 10 points, 4.5 minutes into the final term in Adelaide. So still close, but the Crows have led since quarter time. Boundary throwing. Redmond grabs the footy. Atkins has got him. Drills him to ground in the tackle. Unsays holding the ball.
Oh, wow.
Free kick for the Cats. Atkins to get it. 71-point lead for Geelong. I'll have the footy at half-back. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Well, Mark Blitzarves also is just sitting on the boundary with his jacket on as well. So it's Rowan, Blitzarves and Dangerfield. All the leaders of the club have just been parked on the bench for the rest of this game.
12th tackle, Tommy Atkins. 8 clearances, 9 clearances, 16 contested possessions.
Short to Izzy Smith. He heads further down the wing. Holmes almost ran into Myers. His own teammate Holmes touched it. Myers told to go. Hands it to Close. Kicks inboard. Bose inside the middle of Kidinya Park. Looks inside the forward 50. Down to Henry. Hand on it from Ollie. Hawkins clever. Paddles it back to the top of the goal square. Kelly breaks it up. Hand pass away to Snelling. Short kick dangerous. Myers trying to intercept. Got a hand on it. Still got to Wiedemann though for the Bombers.
He kicks it to Redmond. Marked in front of Close inside defensive 50, content to hold it up momentarily. Now decides to switch play to the Hickey stand side. It's a good kick that finds Martin, a left half back, and he can take off.
Oh.
The kick is not great. He kicks it to Bruin, who couldn't complete the mark. Snelling over the top of him, locks the ball up on centre wing outer side.
Plenty of the footy, Nick Martin tonight. 23rd possession, just hasn't used it, and he's not alone there. It's been a scrappy night, partially. I mean, Geelong's pressures had a lot to do with that, but
Holmes fights through the tackle, sends a kick down to half forward. Heppel tracking back, wins it, slips over, hand pass to Wiedemann, took on the tackle, gives it back to Heppel on his knees. Hand pass away to Hind, trying to burst away from the would-be tackler. Kicks cut out, breaking it up. For the Cats is Cameron, runs in the wrong direction, got a hand pass to Bruin, handball to Holmes, back to Cameron, arches the back, gets rid of Bryan from centre half forward. That's what he can do. Jeremy Cameron kicks it on the run. His third touch in the chain. And Cameron, who's had to wait most of the night, has got his first goal on his return. Cats by 77, 17-13, 115, Essendon 6-2-38. 22 gone, final turn.
Well, it's pretty slick from Geelong in general, but you just can't help but just look at the pressure around it and the lack of pressure, should I say, from Essendon. So, like you said, I was about to say, it was a great goal.
He's run about a 120-metre arc. He started almost at the junction.
A couple of little 1-2s.
Yeah, and he's kicked it from right in the middle, about 40 metres out. But you're right, Beach. He just ran around and really no one laid a body or a glove on him.
It was 1, handball was 2. The guys were able to get it get it back. It's the old bumper bars. Once they handball it once, just bump them in the front and take them out of play so they can't continually link up. So there was none of that from the Bombers defenders.
Back in the middle. A couple of bites at it from both teams, but no clear winner, and we'll have a stoppage still inside the centre square. Cats by 46 at the first change, 44 at the half, 69 at three-quarter time. The margin now stands at 77, just complete domination as from the stoppage. Guelphy gets a high kick towards half-forward. Underneath it is Stewart, couldn't get hands to it. Now Jack Henry tries to tap it to his own advantage. Stewart overran it, and now the Bombers through Perkins. Hand passes over his head to O'Connor, who was caught high, no free kick. Now Guthrie hand passes to Stewart. He hand passes defensively to Bowes from left half back. Kicks down the line, Hind in position A and takes the intercepting mark.
Hind, who came on as the sub, goes short to Caldwell. Huge game Friday night for Essendon up against the Western Bulldogs. Back to Hind, and Hind slipped as he went to kick, came up the side of his boot out on the full. And rode some contact too from Jack Bowes in the process, and the umpire's awake to that. There's going to be a free kick for Hind.
Might be something to look at that. I don't know why he continued to try and apply pressure, but
Hind had already kicked it out on the fall, and then Bowes hit him straight up and down the middle in an old-fashioned shirt front. I don't see that very often. Hind, centering kick. Redmond trying to take a pack mark inside the forward 50. Can't. Spills down. Langford jams it on the boot. Guelphy catches it. Turns. Shoots goalward. I think it's floated through. Guelphy's got one back for the Bombers. Their seventh goal kicker, their seventh goal. 7-2-44. Geelong 17-13 to 1-15. 24.5 gone final term.
Well, it was silly, undisciplined play from Jack Bowes for a couple of reasons, really. I mean, the game, he knows well and truly dead. And they'll have a look at it. If there was any sort of high contact, then he might find himself, given what we've seen this year, in a bit of trouble. And he's one guy, given what we spoke about before, with people waiting at the door to come back into the team who can't be doing anything like that and putting his spot in the team in jeopardy. So, a bit of undisciplined play there. Really haven't seen much of that tonight. It's been pretty professional from the Cats from the word go, but in the end it cost his team a goal.
So Brisbane have won 45 of their last 49 games at the Gabba. That's their next assignment. They're 45-4 in their last 49 regular season matches. And Saturday twilight next week is going to be a hell of a game. The Cats undefeated in a month up against the Brisbane Lions on the rebound after that heartbreaking defeat last night at the G.
From the restart, Holmes picks the ball up, is tackled by Parrish, and we'll have another stoppage adjacent to the centre circles. So Bombers with 3 of the last 4 goals of the game after the margin got out to as much as 83 points in this final quarter. From the stoppage, Guthrie gets past a couple, kicks it into attack. Out the back is Stengel, can run towards goal, directly in front, and kicks his third. Geelong moved to 18-13, 121 to Essendon 7-2-44. 25 played final term on Grandson AFL.
Jeez, it's getting hard to watch, isn't it? As Kelly just caught in two minds. He wanted to go and fly and impact the air, third man up in that marking contest, and he did neither. And his opponent Stengel just ducked to the back and the ball hit the ground, and ironically enough went out the back and he ran into an open goal. So just be assertive with your decision, and once you choose to go, it looked like he just stopped on the play for whatever reason. Really didn't want to make impact with his teammate that was in the contest or not. It's just you decide to go and you don't go and you caught in between, especially when you're on a dangerous small forward like Stengel. It's going to hurt you.
Back to 77 points Geelong's way. They're going forward again out of the middle. Holmes, hand pass to O'Connor, kicks out to half forward. Ollie Henry marks it. On his chest, 45 from home. And Henry is the obligatory look inside 50 and says, she'll be right, I'll overkick myself.
So it'll be high scoring, just not one way leading into the game.
Yeah, 18 goals to 7. I think we were hoping it's more of a neutral sort of 12-12, sort of 13-13
just make that drive.
Here's Ollie Henry. Right foot drop punt is pure. It's right to the line, and Brian helps it through. Touched it on the line. Geelong by 78 points, so 13 goals exactly Geelong's way. 28 gone final term.
15 in the first half last week, you promised, didn't they? Yeah.
Hind with a kick in, finds Heppel at half back.
Reality check tonight.
Sweeping hand pass to McGrath, who has a bounce close to the boundary line. Driving kick down the line, looking for right. Coming across the pack was Stanley. It was a free kick for a push. Takes the free kick. Lovely kick into the corridor. Finds Bruin just forward of halfway. Hand passes to a running Holmes. From centre half forward. Flans the kick out wide to Myers, who's marked at right half forward. Hand passes to Zach Guthrie from just inside 50. A squaring kick looking for Mullen. Drops the mark, the sub. Although there's a free kick in amongst all of that going the Bombers' way.
They just want Mullen to get on the end
to
of it.
McGrath. Hasn't kicked a goal yet. Ocean Mullen in his 4th game of AFL. It was a golden chance gone begging.
Well, it's a dangerous kick. McGrath trying to head out towards half-back. Waiterman cruising, trying to lay the tackle now. He locks up Guthrie and a ball up 70 out from the Cats' goal. They were undefeated in the month of July last year. The Cats obviously went on to win the flag. They were a perfect 5-0 during the month of July.
It's timing their run, you're suggesting.
Undefeated in their last 4. Some big games to come. Hind, hand pass away to Guelphy. Hurried kick forward and Wright takes the mark on the wing. 78 points, Geelong's lead. As Peter Wright kicks a bomb to centre half forward. Langford forced to spoil, down to close in the long sleeves. Hand pass away to Holmes. Kicks down that eastern wing and puts it straight onto the chest of Sam Wiedemann, who marks having been swung into defence in the second half for the Bombers.
Squaring kick to Bryan. He's got it adjacent to the centre square. Hand passes to Parrish from the middle of Cardinia Park. Sends the Bombers into attack. Langford in the front. Menzies at the back takes the grab. 45 from home. We might have the last kick of the night.
She had tonight. Menzies. Yeah, quietish night. His 10th possession.
So the siren sounds. It's a Geelong win. But what is the margin as Menzies shoots from 50, goes through for a rush behind. And that'll do us here at Cardinia Park. But we're the defending champs. They beat the Bombers by 77.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played.
It was billed as one of the matches of the round, but Geelong had other ideas at home at Cardinia Park. They kicked the first 7 goals of the game to lead by 46 at quarter time. From there, the Bombers just couldn't get into the contest. Margin blew out to 69 by 3/4 time. And as Geelong put a couple of stars on ice in the last, they still extended their margin to win by 77. Their resurrection in season 2023 continues. Geelong with their 4th win in a row.
We play the game as it should be played. At home or far away. Our banners fly high from dawn to dark. Now that Cardinia Park.
So 77 points at full time. It did get as wide as 83 at one point early in that final term, but as Jess mentioned, it all happened early. 7 goals to zip at quarter time, and she was a wrap from that point on. Hawkins with 5, 3 for Stengel, 2 each for Close and Blitzarves, and then 1 for Cameron. It was a good one in the last quarter. 1 for Rowan, Myers, Dangerfield, Ollie Henry and O'Connor. While for Essendon, 7 goals, 7 goal kickers. 1 for Langford, Snelling, Wright, Bryan, Stringer, Guelphy and Menzies. Big month ahead for Geelong. They play the top 3 teams in their next 4 weeks. They do have a couple of more games here at Cardinia Park. They host Port Adelaide down here. They've got a game against Fremantle slotted in amongst that next month. Meanwhile, for the Bombers, it's all eyes on Friday night now as they go from trying to consolidate 5th spot to now trying to earn back a spot in the 8. They play the Western Bulldogs on Friday night. As good as it was for the Cats, it was equally as bad for the Bombers. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, just a couple of your top-line thoughts as Zach Merritt is going to get a guard of honour here as the Premiers are making their way over to the Essendon race. Pretty dirty night for the Bombers and for Zach, and not the way I'm sure he would want to celebrate his milestone.
The Oppo team, we're doing that now for 200. The Oppo team.
What's that?
The Oppo team line up.
Not a fan of
200.
before we.
I don't know.
No, not for 200.
What's the minimum
250.
required? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? Coming
Yeah.
to the end.
He's
Just a bit of a recognition that he closer to the end.
Jake Stringer and Dyson Heppel have Zach Merritt on their shoulders as they cheer him off the ground for game number 200, their captain. It was a bad night for the Bombers.
Yeah, one to forget. Yeah, and look at the day. It was all over at quarter time, really. Or 7 goals to 1 point in that first quarter, and all 7 from turnover, Beach, and that was the story of the night. Geelong, you could tell from the first minute they were on with their pressure, and in a lot of ways, as the game wore on, it had a bit of a men against boys feel to it, Beach, and it was a real reality check for the young Bombers team in particular. But they were well beaten all across the field, and Geelong's intercept game was in full force, and the game was just on their terms. As we know, they tend to get it more often than not at this ground in particular. Those high half forwards were really dynamic early. We know how hard they work up the ground and then back into space when they get a sniff. But 20 inside 50s to 5 in that first quarter, they were just able to lock the ball in that front half. Pressure the Bombers, defenders into some uncharacteristic mistakes, and as I said, 7 of those 7 first quarter goals direct from turnover. So that'll be really pleasing for Chris Scott and his coaching staff, the way this game panned out for Long Beach.
Yeah, and scores from turnovers for the whole game was 16-9, so that's a huge number. When I think in most winning teams I'm going to say it's roughly between 10 to 12. I think so. 16-9, 7 of those you may mention come in the first quarter, and then for the whole game there's only 4 goals from stoppages. So it just shows you one, how good the pressure from Geelong was, but then how poor at times the ball use from Essendon was, and a lot of those came, I think, probably in the defensive side of the centre circle for Geelong, with their ability to set up behind the ball, and then once they win it, their ability to move the ball by foot in particular going forward was just too slick for Essendon, and Essendon couldn't find them going back the other way. So it's just disappointing. I think as a team they'll be so positive about last week's performance and what that looked like and what it actually meant against Adelaide and the way they did it in particular. So it was a huge win in the whole scheme of things against a quality opposition in Adelaide, but it's more about the way it looked for them and the way it felt. So they did it the right way. Their pressure intensity, they set the game up in the first half with that, and in the second half they, I guess, became a little bit easier with that, so it was less prevalent, but they'd done their hard work, much like Geelong did tonight in the first quarter. They mentioned the game was over. I think all of us knew that coming down here and getting in the car and driving down this way, hoping for a great game, and then get to the first quarter and literally just get wiped off the park. So, and it's, again, confidence from last week, and then coming down here, Zach Merritt's 200th game. They knew what was coming in terms of Geelong and kind of the role that they're on, the form they're in. So I don't think any of it was a surprise to them. It was just a disappointing thing that the things they could control with the effort and intensity from the start was just really poor.
Been clean, wasn't it? They were fumbly from the start.
Yeah,
and
it almost became perceived pressure.
It did. It just filtered throughout the team, throughout the night. Even those last quarters, some of those contests where Bombers, even in better position or around stoppage, had first possession, but were either pressured into giving it up or just gave it up because they felt like they were under pressure. And it was like, nah, you have it. It's your problem now. There was a lot of that. Yeah, there was a lot of that, which is credit to Geelong. They look back to their hungry best tonight. And Chris Scott, he did the portent last week, didn't he? He called it. He said, we're the ones to watch. Don't worry about anyone else. I know it's a tight comp, but we are the ones to watch in this last 6 weeks, the run into the finals. And it's hard to argue on what we saw tonight.
Well, Corbs, you just reeled off a stat before how they won 5 in a row in the month of July last year, and it's just got that eerie, similar feel to it in terms of them building. And they know that, like, I think they've talked about it publicly, haven't they? That they expect or plan to build their season. Winning the grand final last year, obviously, but then their build up. Starting later in pre-season, older group, they can trust that they've got a plan in place. Yeah. And through pre-season, later start, that it's a kind of a slow burn during the season, and their senior players in particular and the senior group know what it takes and how to actually
And this is when they dial. So, July 15, we are smack bang in the middle of winter, Corb.
Yep.
The middle of winter. This is when they dial it up. When teams who haven't been there and done it and potentially don't have as stronger bodies and, like a bit younger are starting to feel the pinch a bit, this is when the Cats really dial it up. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see them. And they look healthy now. I mean, Dangerfield, looked sharp tonight and they're able to rest him in that last quarter, get Cameron back. They rested Tui, we know that. Radigalea was out. And so really, and Buse was out. But so we've spoken about now the pressure's on for spots, and it's a good position to be in, as it is for most of those, for those top 2, top 3 teams.
It's been a big month in recent years for the eventual premiers. So I mentioned Geelong 5-0 in the month of July last year. This run they're on of 4 games unbeaten includes 3 wins and a draw, of course, against Sydney, as the Cats are about to make their way down in the rooms. But even if you go back to the Richmond years, and I'm including 2018 in that, so even though they didn't win the flag, they were the minor premiers. In those 4 years collectively where they were the most dominant team in the comp, they went 15 wins, 3 losses during the month of July. So huge down payment on what happens thereafter as to how they navigate the dog days of winter. The Cats are just about to make their way into the rooms. Lauren Borden is down there for us. We'll have the post-match reaction from the Cats. We'll keep you updated with what's happening in Adelaide. I can tell you there's been a lead change in the last quarter. The Giants have kicked the last 2 goals of the game. They lead Adelaide by 2 scores. So 9-11-65, Adelaide 8-9-57. If Adelaide lose this game, the Bombers will remain in the 8 tonight, so it will have ramifications for them. An 8-point lead for GWS with 4.5 minutes to go. Let's get into the winners' rooms. Geelong by a wide margin, 77 points over the Dons. Lauren Borden is down there for us. Loz.
Thanks, Corby. You can hear the claps around me. Everyone pretty proud of their team here. Graham Myers led the side in his 100th game, just standing right in front of me. It was him and Paddy Dangerfield that walked in first. The players will now gather around the big Geelong logo on the floor in the change rooms as they get ready to sing their song after an absolutely massive victory against Essendon.
Geelong, the greatest team of all. Hey, we are Geelong. We're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played. Hey, at home or far away. And it's flying high from dawn to dark. Down at Cardinia Park.
Nice to see some of the fans singing along with it too around in the club rooms. We're hoping they don't go into a meeting and we can get Zach Guthrie in a moment, but they might head into one first. So we'll see how that goes. We'll bring you a player soon.
Might have to decork the wine, Loz, down there. We heard earlier in the year, the Cats actually, instead of having a beer in the rooms post-game, they actually bring bottles of wine in, red wine, and they have a beer. Instead of having a beer, have a wine in the rooms.
Is that just playing up to the the age thing again?
Maybe.
We saw them having cups of tea on Mad Monday last year. Is that just...
Yeah. Well, I think that's rubbed off
from
the coach. The coach is a big wine.
Yes, right.
Did you ever have a wine in the rooms post-game, Deja
Nope.
Boy?
No.
Would have had a beer in the room, surely.
Couple of frothies.
Yep. That's 8-point lead for GWS now, 3 minutes to go in Adelaide. Josh Rochelli's been reported. I just saw you having a look at the incident.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I'm not sure if he collected him with... Who is it that comes at...
So it's Buckley who comes over?
Buckley, that's it, yep. So I'm not sure if he actually hit him as such, because if he did, with the aggressive elbow that he threw, I'm sure he would have knocked him out in some sense or caused some serious damage. But
so basically, Rochelli's been picked off the ball. He wasn't too happy about it. He got up and tried to remonstrate. And as he's throwing his arms around, an elbow has clipped Buckley as he's come in. So even though he's retaliating, Josh Rochelli will be looked at. He's been reported, in fact. So an 8-point lead for the Giants, concluding stages over the Crows. Back into the winners' rooms here at Cardinia Park. Geelong by 77. Lauren Borden.
Thanks, Corby. I've got Zach Guthrie before Geelong heads into a meeting. Well done on the performance today. It was pretty dominant. You've continued your run against Essendon, a good recent run. There's not much you could probably fault with that performance, is there?
Yeah, I think we started really well, which really set us up for the game. When you sort of put the pressure on the opposition, I think it was like 40-0 or 6 or something at quarter time. So that really helped a good start, and then we were able to play some really good footy from there.
And it's now put you to 5th position on the ladder. There was talk earlier in the season about whether Geelong would even make finals after a few strings of 3 losses in a row. How much does this last month propel you into now another big month against some of those top 4 sides?
Yeah, it's been big. That's sort of been what we've been working on, just trying to get some good patches of footy for more consistent periods. I think still our best has been good, but we've also played some footy where we've had a few lapses throughout the year, and I think the last couple of games we've done a good job at sort of playing that full 4 quarters, and hopefully we got a good run. Some teams above us, which is a good thing. I think we can, if we can pinch a few points off the other teams, that'll help hopefully propel us a bit higher.
And on a lighter note, obviously, Mark O'Connor scored a goal, and there was a bit of an Irish music that came out. Who pressed play on that one?
No idea. Everyone got around him as well, and I was running back to my spot as a defender, and I thought it would have looked bad if I didn't get to him because I was the only one. So, but yeah, the crowd really get around the Irish boys, Mark O'Connor, Zach Tui, and Oisin Mullen. So, yeah, it's good for them. It's pretty cool.
Do you think it might start something where a few other players have songs after they goal?
Maybe, yeah. The carry-on was pretty good tonight, and the crowd got around it. So who knows, if Hawk got a song for him, I think he kicked 5 or something tonight, we'd get a bit repetitive hearing the same song over and over. So we'll see.
No, that's a fair call. We'll head upstairs now to some more questions from Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball.
Sure.
Yeah, Zach, Brendan Goddard, mate, congratulations tonight. We're just talking about last year in particular that you won 5 games on the trot through July, later start to pre-season, and that you just hope to have a build-up to your season and find form at the right time. Is it fair to say that there is actually a plan around that and that has some merit?
I think so. I think Scotty sort of talks about that in the presses he does and stuff. We sort of try and manage guys throughout the year, but obviously we still didn't start the way the year that we wanted to. We started 0-3, so that sort of made hard work for us to sort of catch up and get a few games back. But in saying that, we like to manage guys throughout the year, but we still got to put wins on the board, and I think the last 2 weeks have been promising, so hopefully we can just keep building a few wins from here and get our game in good shape.
And just on your own form, mate, it looks like you've really cemented your spot in that stingy defence of Geelong that it's been for so long. How have you found it, mate, obviously finding your feet, and how is it playing with such experience down there, in particular Tom Stewart?
Yeah, it's been good. Probably last season was sort of the first crack I had where I was able to put together a few games in a row, which was pleasing, and I've just tried to keep improving this year and keep being someone the team can rely on. We've had a couple of guys go out through injury this year in our defence, so we've sort of had guys coming in and out a little bit, but it's a pleasure playing with guys like Stewie, and I thought Jack Henry was awesome in the first quarter tonight. Getting him back, he's had a few injuries to start the season, so hopefully we get a good mix, and we've got some good depth as well. In saying that, hopefully we can rotate a few guys through there and try and find the best mix.
And just one last one for me. We've heard about the choice of beverage from a lot of your teammates, in particular Blitzarves, and I know your coach loves a red wine too. But what's your choice, mate, after a solid win?
No, I'm just recovering onto the next one. not a big drinker myself, so just trying to prepare.
Just the protein drink, mate, a couple of Gatorades.
Get the protein in and repair the muscles.
And great to see, Zach, great to see Jay Cameron back out, obviously after a couple of weeks off, and that massive knock. A bit of everything from him tonight. I think he looked a little bit rusty early. He caught one on the beak and had the claret and shanked one into the stands, but then we saw his absolute magic with that goal in the last quarter as well.
Yeah, as you know, he's really important to us. We were really keen to get him back, so it was funny. He sort of he was in the wars early, he copped a few knocks and that sort of thing. You could tell in that last quarter he was really keen to get a goal for himself, and he wasn't passing that one off at the end, but when you got skill like that, I think you can do whatever you want.
Zach Guthrie with us on Grandstand AFL. Zach, it's just Webster here. I want to ask you about Brian Myers, 100 games tonight. He's becoming a really popular member of this group, and certainly an important one. So how important is he to this Geelong outfit?
Yeah, he's been super. 100 games is a great effort. He's had to work really hard for that. Sort of talked about it this week. In his first year, he probably wasn't quite up to the level that he'd hoped he could. So he's gone away and worked really hard, and he's become a really important member of our team. He plays a tough role, the high forward. You have to get up and down the ground, sometimes without reward, but I think he's been finding a really good balance in his game the last few years of getting up and ground and doing some running for the team, but also getting back, kicking some goals and setting up others. So, yeah, as I said, he's been a crucial part to what we've been doing this year and last year.
Did the boys notice he was trending in Australia on Twitter on Thursday?
There was a bit of talk about that. I wasn't exactly across it. Something about Jared Waitley. I don't
Surely he's got a new nickname, hasn't he?
There's been a bit of talk around about that. So if you can be compared to him, I'd probably take it myself.
You're up to 5th on the ladder, so you flip ladder positions with the Dons tonight. So Essendon fall to 8th, Geelong are up to 5th. Can you win it, Zach, from this spot?
I think we've had really good confidence in our game when we play our best footy. We just got to try and do that as I said earlier, consistently. I think tonight was a good glimpse. We started the game really well and set up the game. So going forward, we'll just look to keep being really consistent, playing some good footy, some forward footy, and playing from our contest and getting it going forward, because Hawke and Jez and Gary Rowan and Tyson and those guys have looked really dangerous when we've done that this year.
It's a fascinating race, I can tell you. Full time in Adelaide, the Giants by 14 points over the Crows. So GWS coming from behind at three-quarter time to win there. I'm sure all you're worried about, Zach, is the win here. 77 points over the Dons. Appreciate your time on Grandstand AFL.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Zach Guthrie from the Cats. So huge win for the Giants.
Huge.
That's
5 in a row?
Come from behind victory
Since they beat the Cats here.
Final term. So GWS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's correct. It's actually 6 of their last 7 starting with the Geelong game.
Sorry, yes.
The only loss was the Richmond one.
Yes.
And then
which kick.
Yeah. Then they've peeled off North, Freo, Melbourne, Hawthorn, Adelaide.
It's building to story of the year sort of stuff. No one had them above their bottom 3 or 4 this year, I would have thought.
And they run home?
Coming into the year. And they run home. They've got the Suns next week, which is very winnable at home. So it's sort of in their hands a bit. What a sensational effort.
And they've... Was it you I was talking to the other week about, might have been other colleague here, Benny Cameron, but how many games they've actually been in this year?
They've only lost one game by more than 20 points, which was Collingwood, who kicked away in the last quarter.
The others have generally all been under 10
3 goals. Yeah. Super
Amazing
stuff.
And first-year coach, obviously, in Adam Kingsley, and right in the season. Suns, Bulldogs, Swans, next 3. So all winnable games for GWS. Here's what the ladder looks like. I know this is hard to do in an audio sense, but...
we love the ladder, don't we?
Collingwood are one game clear now on top. Port Adelaide then on 14 wins. Brisbane 2 games behind them. So because Brisbane lost, they've still got a 2-game buffer, Port Adelaide in the top 2. Lions 12 wins, outright third. Melbourne 11 wins, 2 games clear in the top 4 now. So 2 games between 4th and 5th. Then there's 5 teams on 9 wins. Geelong, they've got the half game. That's why they're 5th. And then St Kilda, Western Bulldogs, Essendon, whose percentage took a hammering. So they're down to 8th spot with a percentage of 101.2. Giants up to 9 wins as well, so they're outside the 8 only by percentage. Carlton are 2 points out of the 8 with a percentage of 111, and the West Coast Eagles next week. So the lid's off and the baggers are back in the season. Yep. Adelaide and the Suns both on 8 wins, so they're both a game and percentage out, the Crows and the Suns. And then it gets much harder to try and make the case for the 7.5 win teams, the Swans and the Tigers, although... Richmond still to play this weekend. Tigers play the Eagles tomorrow, so they're every chance to go to 34 points, and it'll mean that Richmond will be just half a game outside the 8 at the end of the weekend. That's with 6 games to go. What a race home from here.
Equalisation actually taking effect.
The egalisation. I like that.
We need the wild card weekend this year, don't we? We need 7 v 10. Sorry, is that right? Yeah, 7 v 10 and 8 v 9. Yeah. If ever you're going to make a case for it.
I'd much rather that than a week off, and you'd rather some footy than none, wouldn't you?
But there's probably been years in the past where it hasn't made sense because there's been a bit of a drop-off after maybe the top 8. But this year, there's a genuine, as I said at the start of the game, from which up until last week, you can put a line through Freo. Take those 3 bottom teams out. Everyone's really had a sniff, haven't they? And you mentioned Carlton. A month ago they looked gone, and now they're now you don't want to run into them. So it's exciting. There's genuine chances, but yeah, the Giants. What a story.
It's going to be a hell of a run home from here. We've got 2 games to come tomorrow. Focus down the other end of the table. Hawthorn and North Melbourne is the first game for broadcast just after 1 o'clock. And then the West Coast Eagles, who sit last of all up against Richmond, is the twilight game, so just after 4 o'clock Eastern. The Bombers tonight, we've sort of focused on them throughout. Dirty night for Essendon. They're still 8th. They play the Western Bulldogs on Friday night. Darcy Parish had that dangerous tackle where he seemed to rip Tanner Bruin into the ground. Unfortunately, it looks very similar to the Sarong incident and a number of others, Bally, that we've seen throughout the year.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, and tough nut Bruin, who got straight up. As is the case, the doctor goes out to anyone in that situation now and checks, but he waved him away and played on. So I think in years gone by, you would say that is going to work in Darcy's favour. But again, from most recent evidence with the Sarong case, he's in a bit of trouble.
What do they take out of the night? So Brad Scott's, I said to BJ on the way down, I feel like he's been tone perfect all year, Brad Scott. It's always hit the right notes after the loss to Port Adelaide. Said, look, we're not in the business of wishing and hoping. We're in the business of getting things done. Happy to keep a lid on things even after the victory against Adelaide last week, and then huge reality check tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what it really felt like in a sense. I mean, they were terrific last week, and I think, Bombers supporters are starting to feel a lot more confident coming to the game that they're going to get a certain level of effort, and it was a little bit down tonight. That's what's the most disappointing. What's not the scoreboard in a sense, but just the way right from the start they just looked like they weren't up for the occasion, up for the fight. The heat was applied, and they didn't want any part in the kitchen. That was my sort of read on tonight, Corb. So I don't know whether it's a mulligan, whether Brad can give them one of those. It looked like, as Beach said, that he was willing to throw the magnets around a bit, and if not teach a few a lesson, at least try a few different things, which is a good sign. But they're going to have to butter up pretty quick, aren't they? Because they head to Marvel on Friday night against the Dogs, who'll be smarting after a game they probably should have won as well.
They'll sweat on Parrish's availability after that dangerous tackle. Jack Bowes, by the way, in the last quarter had an old-fashioned shirt front to Nick Hind. It gave away a free kick, and I'm sure that'll attract the attention of the match review officer as well. On the injury front, Jaden Laverty was subbed out with an ankle complaint, had Gary Rowan trying to smother a ball land across his lower leg. Did return to the field, but didn't play a whole lot thereafter, so he was out with an ankle complaint, and Dangerfield subbed out with a calf injury, but looked more like a bit of junk time and preservation for their ageing champ rather than a serious injury for Danger. The votes, Bawley in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Okay, I sort of almost gave them at quarter time, to be honest. The 3 and the 2. I'm going to give one to Tom Atkins for his work across the whole game. Started pretty well, but just got better as the game went on and finished with... And embodied, I thought, what looked like the Cats just being a lot tougher and harder around the contest, and the Bombers not being able to stand up to it, and had 28, 16 contested, 9 clearances and 12 tackles. So that's a pretty good day for an inside mid. Going to give 2 to the milestone man, Brian Myers, the 100-gamer, just for his, again, more of his work in the first half. He had 15 of his 26 possessions in the first half, kicked the goal himself, had 8 inside 50s. I think from memory, he certainly set up at least 2 in that first quarter and probably more across the day. So his fantastic season continues, Lionel Messi. And I'm going to give 3 to Max Holmes, who had 21 possessions in the first half. Finished with 33, but 21 in the first half, 5 inside 50s, 9 contested, and 660 metres gained. I guess you're looking at the premiership team from the year before, and they'll all say you still need to improve. Where have they improved? Well, we forget that Max Holmes didn't play in that grand final, so he comes into this team, and we know what he brings to the team. So he's a massive inclusion, as is Broome. We've spoken about him and 1 or 2 others. So I think they're in a pretty nice position. The Cats.
Are they make the 8, cause some trouble? Are they?
I think
they in contention?
I think they can make the 4.
Yep.
I had a quick look then. They've got to beat Brisbane next week.
Yep.
But they'll go up there with a head of steam. So if they do that, I think they make. So they're only 6 points behind. Yep. So they've just got to. They've got to pitch that one.
They play teams that have their
correct.
spot. Yep.
Correct. That's right.
So that's the other thing. It can work for you big time, can't it? Even though it's a tough draw. If they get there, they would have been tested with Brisbane at the Gabba, Fremantle at Cardinia Park, Port Adelaide, Cardinia Park, Collingwood at the G in the next 4.
What'll be interesting, if they finish 5th, which is a huge possibility as well, they'll be lobbying pretty hard to get that first final, that elimination final down here.
They need to get the steel and get the roof.
Hurry up! Hurry up! Get them in.
Under the proviso that is finished.
You've got 6 weeks to get it finished.
Still
only, get it done.
Half the seats look like they're less than half, maybe.
Well, that's all they need.
That will be, especially if it's against. It might be against an Adelaide or a GWS. That will be fascinating. I think if it's a GWS or an interstate team, they'll get it here for sure, I think.
If you're Steve Hockey, though, you'd be fuming, wouldn't you?
Absolutely fuming.
Reigning premiers, you've got this ground down here, teams starting to win, the whole town's into their footy, and you've gone the whole year in your premiership defence with half a grandstand. That should have been finished before the year started.
If it's a Richmond, if it's a 5v8 and it's a Richmond, if they sneak in, or a Carlton or an Essendon, look forward to that debate that week.
That's not going to happen, Luke. So there's they can
They'll
ask the
be
question.
heading up the highway, you reckon, Reg?
No, they won't be. It'll be at the MCG.
That's what I mean. They'll be heading up the highway to the G. From
Yeah,
here.
they will be. So they'll ask a question. But all they need is to get some safety rails in. They don't need the roof on it, and they don't need the internals done. As long as they get the seats out, that's all the supporters care about. Give me a seat in the
Probably
stadium.
not even that, to be honest. Just standing room.
Yeah, standing room there. The old standing room only. That'll be good.
Yeah, they'll back themselves from fifth, though, won't they?
Just whip up a little barbecue out the back with a piece of bread like the Bunnings sausage sizzle, and away you go.
They serve beers. That's all they care about.
Collingwood by 46 points over Fremantle, so big win for the Pies. They're a game clear on top. Freo have now lost 5 of their last 6. The Gold Coast Suns, they got the dead cat bounce after the coach went, so a 26-point win over St Kilda. Stephen King leading the Suns to victory in his first game as caretaker coach. And the Blue Baggers have won 4 in a row, so a 50-point win over Port Adelaide. The Power's 13-game win streak comes to an end. Concern for Harry Mackay with a serious knee injury, fears that that may be an ACL. You can find out the diagnosis tomorrow. Michael Voss is going to join us from 12 noon Eastern on Grandstand AFL Sunday with myself, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio at Docklands just before that North Melbourne Hawthorn game. So 12 noon tomorrow on air Eastern Grandstand AFL. The 2 games tonight, 77 points Geelong's victory over Essendon here at Kardinia Park, and meanwhile a 14-point win for GWS. They led in the opening quarter, then it was the Crows who led throughout, and GWS snatching back the lead with the last 3 goals of the game, and now they sit just percentage outside the top 8. So a big night for the Giants, big night for the Cats. Safe travels home, everyone. Thanks for making the trip. Jess Webster, Luke Ball, Brennan Goddard.
What a trip it was.
Thanks to
and
Lauren.
My nights got worse because the Scottish Open's now just played early because of bad weather, so I can't go home and watch a golf.
Oh, no.
Waste my time coming down the highway.
It was at least
Wimbledon final, Beach.
Yeah.
Oh, the tennis is on. Yeah, I haven't even watched it.
You can hear that, by the way, on ABC Sport Digital. We'll have coverage
Who's playing tonight?
The Wimbledon final. Vondrousova and Ons Jabeur.
Oh, yeah.
We got to
I've heard
go.
of those
Thanks to
guys.
Lauren.